What if I suddenly wasn't ready? You asked us 5 times.
Always ready, baby. Always ready. What is going on, Awesemo crew? I am Eric Lindquist, and this is the MLB Deeper Dive presented by PrizePicks. Let's just get right to it. We've got a lot of games to get to in, 53 minutes? I'm stoked because I am alongside the guy who's going to be doing all of the heavy lifting here, as I am just frolicking here in Miami. Terry McBride, how you doing, my dude?
Doing pretty good, buddy. I didn't realize I was going to do all the heavy lifting this early in the morning, but I'm up to the task. I know you're out partying and having a fun time with all the bosses and the whole Awesemo crew down there in Florida. As I understand it, though, you're the +1, though, right? You didn't. I
am the +1. Yeah, okay. God forbid I ended up qualifying for this thing. No, Rimpak actually won a seat at my bachelor party for the fantasy in Miami. So it was rightful that, he ends up adding me as the +1. Couldn't have been any better, but gotten to hang out with Alex, with Steve Buzzard, a lot of the Awesemo crew, a lot of the top players in the world are all down here. We're going on a yacht tonight to hang out with Deer and Fox and Busta Rhymes. I mean, it can't get any better than that for sure. Pretty stoked. But as everybody's getting in here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo is going live. And I will say one aside before we get to it. My favorite thing about hanging out with all of them is that, thinking about how many MLB, MMA, NBA lineups they're putting together simultaneously, and the guys just never on their phones. So it's very cool to have them be present. Makes me so excited to be working at this company. Just it's an amazing opportunity that I've got this weekend. So with that, Terry,
does that real quick on that though, when you're talking and hanging out with those guys, does that put a lot of pressure on your levels of conversation, your jokes? If your jokes aren't hitting, they've got Alex is sitting there with $1 million on the line. It's got to be tempting to pull that phone out. So
my jokes generally suck. So that's I don't have to worry about it. They're already dad jokes. And so it works out pretty well. I'm a big hit in the dad joke community. So there's that. Yeah, that's kind of my MO, but let's get right to it. We got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover here. Chicago White Sox -175 at Baltimore 10.5. Definitely a spot that we got to be talking about because the Chicago White Sox highest implied total that I know of right now, because with the Nola scratch, I could see Boston kind of moving themselves into play for being at the top end. But we've got a lot of different pitching options. These are going to be primarily hitting options on this side. But if you have anything from the pitchers, talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think it's primarily a hitting game for me as well, just given the hitting environment that they're going to be in. I do like Dylan Cease as a pitcher. 8,500, I think, is a fair price for him on FanDuel. He's only getting 3% ownership. I could carve out some Dylan Cease shares here. Only 3% ownership for 9,500 on DK. The price tag's a little bit more over there to ask, but it's a good pitcher. 29.4% strikeout rate on the year. He's rounded into form with a lot of this stuff. 14.9% induced swinging strikes. He's walking 9.8% of hitters, which is still too many, giving up 9.9% barrels, a 17.4 degree average launch angle. 35.4% hard hit is it saves them a little bit. 87.9 mile an hour average exit velo, same kind of thing. So he's getting hit for a home run profile, but not quite hard enough. So a lot of fly balls that stop short of the wall. Against this Orioles team in this park, that could definitely come back to bite him. You get a hitter like Santander, Trey Mancini, somebody like that in there. I do see some strikeout upside. The confirmed Orioles lineup, 23.6% strikeout rate. So there's a little bit of strikeout upside for the price, for the popularity. I can get to some Cease, but it's far more about getting to White Sox stacks here, I think, going up against Spencer Watkins, whoever that is. 1 inning pitched on the season, 6.70 xFIP is all I have on that guy. Mm-hmm. Looks like he gave up a 30.7 degree launch angle across however many hitters he actually faced there. So they're profiling very well. It's going to be a bullpen game most likely for the Orioles. So attack this bullpen with White Sox bats. That said, they're going to be really popular outside of Adam Engel in the middle of the lineup. It looks like he's only drawing 9-10% ownership across sites. Everybody else is up in the 20s and 30s. So it's just difficult to roster them in unique ways. But I think they're definitely a key stack today.
Yeah, we have 22 teams in play here, and it seems like the White Sox 21.1% or 21.7% stack share over on the top stacks. Cool. 17.7% chance of being the top stack. So obviously they are, they've got nearly a 20% chance, but considering the ownership, it's just a hard spot to be like trying to be rostering them a bunch. Probably get a little bit unique with some of these stacks, but you do have a lot of cheap options on the back end. You've got a lot of pop on the front end with Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, the usual suspects there. But are you going to be going to the White Sox here in this spot? And if you do, are you going to find some unique ways to kind of put them together?
Yeah, I'll be looking to guys toward the back end of the lineup like usual to help me get a little bit different. But even those guys are picking up some ownership now, right? Like I've mentioned Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets on each of the last few days shows because I think those guys do have interesting bats. They both have significant power profiles as prospects. But now we're getting Vaughn is coming in 23% ownership on FanDuel because he only costs 2,300. Sheets is not getting that much. He's hitting 2,800. I could see rostering him to get a little bit different. But now you're talking about rostering a kid who he's got a 349 on base right now, but he's not really a profile of an on base guy who's going to wrap around well to the top of the lineup. He's more a base clearer for a middle of the lineup stack. So then if you're talking about immediately correlated hitters with him, you're looking at Engel, Larry Garcia, Andrew Vaughn, and him. It gets dicey with putting that together. You're not buying the best part of the lineup. So it's just awkward constructions with these guys. I would be definitely trying to get to as much of the top four hitters in different kind of combinations. Maybe that's putting together with very low owned second stacks or low owned pitching. If you've got a really good looking pitcher that nobody else is getting to, that might be a good way to approach this.
And then, and looking at the Baltimore side then too. Well, we're going to keep it flying because again, we've got so many things to get going to. I'm promise you, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're loved. Baltimore Orioles. I'm just looking at this side. Yeah, so I mean, the White Sox, they're fantastic plays. They have a 6.1 implied run total. I mean, these are good things for them. But on the Baltimore side, what are the bats you're kind of looking at? And again, we don't even have that lineup yet, but 12 mile an hour wind out to left, 87 degrees, 60% humidity. Things are trending up for hitting on both sides. And as much as we love Dylan Cease, I mean, we still have to have some interest in a team with a 4.5 implied total in a great hitting environment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're being helped by the pricing here. None of these hitters are expensive. Cedric Mullins on FanDuel is your most expensive Orioles bat at 3,300. I can take or leave Cedric Mullins on a lot of slates. I'm more interested in Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander in the middle of the lineup there. All of those guys are priced under $3,000. All of them are under 10% ownership on FanDuel. All of them fairly priced on DK, under 10% ownership. That's a nice little core there. Decent amount of power, quality hit tools. There's a lot to like about that little part of the Orioles lineup. And then you can mix and match guys like Mullins. The back end of the projected lineup isn't the greatest with Ramon Urias, Domingo Leyba, Pedro Severino, and Pavelekia. If you're mixing and matching those guys, you're playing with a little bit of fire there. It's really about the top five hitters here, but you can include one of those guys to offset a little bit of ownership, a little bit of price if you need to. You don't really need to, though, with this team.
Love it. Atlanta plus 110 going into Miami here again for the third or fourth straight day, whatever it is at this point in time. But of course, rip Ronald Acuna. What an absolute bummer that is to lose one of the best players in baseball. A torn ACL, out for the year. Yikes. That's not good stuff. But here Adrianza is leading off now, so that's exciting. No, that's not exciting. It's horrendous for everybody involved. But
basically we're looking all right.
Yeah, there's the same profile for sure. Ian Anderson on the bump for Atlanta. He looks like a decent enough option on this slate. 24.4% K percentage. Pablo Lopez on the other one, 26.6% K percentage. A lot better underlying numbers. 33.3% hard hit percentage. I mean, they're both going to be very popular options. How do you feel about them today?
Yeah, I like both pitchers. I think I would be more inclined to roster Ian Anderson, just given the matchup he's facing the Marlins, where Pablo Lopez is going against the Braves. Even without Acuna, this is still a good lineup. We keep taking pieces out of this lineup. Eventually, they're going to be bad if we keep removing parts. But still, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson. You're talking about some quality there. I know we're mixing in Adrianza up top, Orlando Arcia now in the 5 spot, Guillermo Heredia in the 7. Kevin Smith in the 8. It gets ugly fast now for Atlanta. So I think there's definitely something there for Pablo Lopez. 9,300 though, I don't know that I want to pay up to that to get just what I think is probably like a mid-range kind of a starter here, kind of a projection here. At 7,300 on DK, Pablo's a lot more interesting. He's drawing some ownership, but I don't think it's probably high enough given that it is a bit of a depleted lineup that he's going against, and he is a good pitcher. You mentioned the 25.8% strikeout rate, a 3.44 xFIP on the year. He induces 11.2% swinging strikes. He actually doesn't work enough around the plate. Despite the 11.2% swinging, he's only at a 27% CSW, so actually could have some more upside, could throw some more strikes. Nothing really in the contact profile to worry about for him. But I still do think I like Ian Anderson better. The kid's pitching really well for the season, 24.8% strikeout rate, a 3.51 xFIP, a 12.2% induced swinging strike rate, only allowing 5.5 degree average launch angle. So the 9.5% barrel balls that he allows don't really hurt him. The 40.2% hard hit doesn't really hurt him. Everything's going into the ground. So I like the profile for Anderson. I think he picks up potential for a few additional strikeouts here against the Marlins as well. So it's a good spot for both pitchers, depending on where you're playing. Lopez for me is probably more of a DK only play.
Okay, that's kind of the important part, is looking at a lot of the pitching. I mean, you can always stack up the Freddie Freeman, Albies, Riley section of this lineup for sure. Orlando Arcia today in the 5-hole now. Adrianza at the top, as I said, 2.1K, cheap option there. Right now, the roof looks open here in Miami too. So there's that. I don't really know what to think about that, because normally it's going to be closed on humid days like this. And let me tell you, humidity down here, outrageous. There is that as well. Ehire Adrianza, probably the only bat I'm probably going to get to in any kind of meaningful way. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, there's the appeal of the dead minimum price leading off for this team. That's always something, and not getting any ownership. We're talking about a guy who's 264, 348, 446 on the season, 14% better than average grade in runs, 4 home runs. Not bad for 142 plate appearances. Certainly not Ronald Acuna levels. I could get to some Austin Riley for 2,900. I like his power upside in the cleanup spot. I would maybe grab a few shares of that 1 through 4 stack, or maybe just 2, 3, 4 it, and grab a little bit of that, just because nobody else is there. And I do still think that's at least a premium 3-man with Freeman, Albies, and Riley there. So I think it's at least a little bit sneaky. I don't like the pricing of it on DK, though. Everybody in that is under 4,000 on FanDuel. Getting it to Freddie at 62 and Ozzy at 55 in that is not that appealing on DK.
Yeah, not the best spot for sure. And any interest in Marlins bats whatsoever?
Not really, just given the profile of Anderson, where everything's going into the ground. There's not that much home run upside. He's capping their power potential in my home run model. If I'm grabbing one-offs, I'll hope that Adam Duvall can maybe golf one over the wall, or maybe I'm taking like a Jazz Chisholm and relying on his hit tool and speed profile. Starlin Marte, same thing.
Love it. Toronto, minus 120 going into Tampa Bay, 8.5 total runs for this one. 2 pitchers that have just been performing, 2 lefties, 2 southpaws, just slinging it around right now. Robbie Ray, 31.1% K percentage, does give up quite a bit of hard contact, but looking over at the top pitchers tool today, he's grading out as the second dude on the board over on DK, 22% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, coming in with around 26% ownership. That's pretty negligible. Tampa Bay team that can definitely be feast or famine on that side. And then Rich Hill on the other side, 36.6% hard hit percentage, 434 expected slugging. So maybe getting a little bit lucky there, but 24.4% K percentage, still getting it done into his 40s. Pretty fantastic for him. What do you feel about pitching in this game?
Yeah, how can I not like Rich Hill, man? He's one of my peers, I guess. Yeah. I think
he's like 10 years older than me and like 10 times better at anything than me. So
I'm with you on the second part. I think he's like 6 months younger than me, or 9 months younger than me, or something.
Oh my gosh! Oh, yeah. Good times. I hate now. Like I went to the Angels game last Sunday for the 4th of July, and seeing these kids that are born in like 2002 that are getting called up. I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, it starts to get really, really weird. But then I don't know if your brain works the way that I do. Like these guys still seem like grown up adult men to me, where I still in my head, like I'm like an 18. Like if I met Aaron Judge,
still a
like,
child.
hello, sir. And he'd be like, yes, hello, sir. How are you?
Yep. There's that. Father. Yeah. We're eternal kids. I mean, we talk fantasy goodness for a living. So there's that.
Exactly.
Yeah, continuing on. But yeah, like looking at these pitchers, I mean, you got to love this.
Yeah, I think it's a strong spot for Robbie Ray. I wrote about him in my article today. He's my 3rd highest projected pitcher, but him, Woodruff, Bassett, and Berrios are all separated by about a half a point at the top of my projections. So I've got a pretty broad range of quality pitching. I like a lot of these guys. He's firmly on that list. The one thing that concerns me is that power profile that you're talking about. 10.5% barrel ball rate, a 13.7 degree average launch angle, 48.5% hard hit rate, and a 91.9 mile an hour average exit velo. That is a home run profile, but he's just not getting hit that hard. He's not yielding it. He's not falling apart like we've seen Robbie Ray do in seasons past. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, it's a weird thing to say because we're so data driven, but I think part of it is a confidence level that's driven by the fact that he's cut his walks in half. He's at a 6.3% walk rate. That's better than Robbie Ray's been through his career. He's inducing 15.2% swinging strikes to go with that. He's getting guys to swing and miss on pitches that they used to lay off outside the zone and draw walks on. And it's really, really helping him turn into a different kind of a pitcher. So I think he projects really well here. He's not getting a ton of ownership for the quality on FanDuel. Only 12% ownership. That's easy enough to get up and over. 26 and change on DK is probably maybe appropriate given that we've got a broad range of pitching, given that he was one of the more expensive options. But I really like the spot. And we're talking about a Tampa Bay team that struggles against left-handed pitching. They're fifth worst in baseball, 26.2% strikeout rate against lefties, a 2.94% home run rate against lefties. That is second worst in the league. So they don't hit lefties for a lot of power. So that could add to the upside spot here for Robbie Ray and make him, I think he's maybe a little bit sneaky considering where the field's at on him.
Yeah, the field's a little bit lower, and you're getting the $600 savings on DK from Brandon Woodruff. Over on FanDuel, you're getting a lot of savings in the $800 coming down from Woodruff. So I do like going to a lot of Robbie Ray here in this spot. Rich Hill, don't mind getting to a little bit there as well. But at the same time that we've talked about Robbie Ray being phenomenal and avoiding it, he's still giving up that hard contact that we alluded to. 48.5% hard hit percentage on the season might make some of these Tampa Bay bats a little bit intriguing to go up against him. I think with the amount of exposure I'm going to have to Ray, I have no problem stacking up Tampa Bay on the other side just in cases. How about you?
Yeah, I would grab some shares, particularly like you said, since I'm going to have a good amount of Ray, it would be kind of in a head stack approach. They don't project all that well for me, but they're cheap. So like it kind of offsets it. They project enough. And then I do get some good power marks particularly around some of these righties, like Randy Arozarena, getting a decent mark on Wander Franco. He hits from both sides of the plate. We've got Vidal Brujan in this lineup now. He hits from both sides of the plate. Another premium prospect coming up for this team. So there is some quality here. It looks like they've stuck with several of the lefties in the lineup. We've got Austin Meadows. We've got Brandon Lau. We've got G-Man in there. And we've got Brett Phillips at the back end of the lineup. So it's going to be an interesting lineup to work with. Not that many people are going to be on them. I can get to some Ray stacks here as a weird approach to the slate for sure.
Love it. All righty. Well, also, something you guys need to be taking advantage of. Well, first of all, I'll say Cleveland ended up getting postponed. Thank God. If we're going to save time on a slate, if we're going to save time, just eliminate games with a postponement. Like that makes it super easy for us. Then we can get through all of it. So now this 11 gamer became a 10 gamer. But in order to be getting the most you possibly can out of everything here from Awesemo, you have to be taking advantage of the weekly pass. And if you're a new member, MLB Deeper Dive, all caps, one word, gets you 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That is good stuff. You need to be trying that out. And if you just need the MLB product, it's $15.95 for the weekly package. But I got to say, being able to have all of the tools and content for MMA, we've got guys just absolutely crushing in that sport every single weekend. Steve Buzzard helping behind the scenes with everything. Just one of the best players in the world at that sport. Rinpak ends up taking down, or I guess he split the FanDuel a zillion ways last night, but a nice takedown by him. I mean, we just have guys who are crushing every single sport. NFL is coming up here. I can't tell you how many goodies we have in the works out here for that too. So $29.95 gets you that weekly pass right now. Definitely start getting behind the scenes now and stop guessing, start winning. Moving ourselves along, Pittsburgh plus 105 at the New York Mets here. I don't know who ended up being the announced pitcher. Did you see anything for the Mets? Is it the Sapuki guy? Because I don't even know how to say his name. I feel bad.
That's who I had in there.
Okay.
On the page I'm on, it's still not confirmed, despite the fact that this game starts in 2 hours. You'd like to think they would tell the guy he's pitching, but that's who I'm using in my model. So let's go with him.
All right. So I just wanted to insert, create a player there. I mean, it's just like such a made up name, but I apologize again to his friends and family who are tuning into our show today. On both sides of this, it's just kind of not a super intriguing pitching spot. If you have anything, correct me.
No, for me, this is not a pitching spot at all. I want to attack Chase DeYoung with Mets bats here. I don't really want any part of the Pirates bats. they're frisky from time to time, but it's difficult to predict, difficult to land on, and you're landing only on the same specific hitters that if they looked good or if there was a reason to get to them, they're the guys that everybody would roster. So they're not flashing much upside. But for me, the Mets are very much on the board. I think they've gotten healthy. The lineup is kind of back to being whole. Some of the guys are still struggling. Michael Conforto in particular is still trying to find his form. Jeff McNeil has not quite been there. Francisco Lindor has been well-documented struggles throughout the entire season. But there's just appeal in the way that this lineup profiles against a pitcher like DeJong. DeJong comes in 20% strikeout rate over 33 and 2/3 innings, giving up 12.4% barrel ball rate, 15.9 degree average launch angle, 44.6% hard hit rate, 91.3 mile an hour average exit velo. Those are all very similar numbers to what we were concerned about with Robbie Ray. And he is not striking out nearly as many hitters as Robbie Ray, not nearly the pitcher that Robbie Ray is in general. 25.4% CSW percentage, just doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. There are good reasons to put together guys like Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Dom Smith, I can take or leave, but Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto, only the last two hitters in the Mets lineup, Luis Guillorme and James McCann. If you're playing on DK, you can get to some McCann. He's expensive, but he's not owned as a catcher over there. Guillorme is kind of a fill-in player, but everybody else 1 through 6 in this Mets lineup I want to be getting to today.
So we just had Loco come up in chat that he's got the starting pitcher for the Mets on the one side, but I think we covered for the most part. I mean, we're not going to be rostering any of these dudes for the most part on the mound, but hitters for sure. I mean, the Mets carry a pretty darn good chance of being a top stack here, or at least they did earlier here. I guess it dropped quite substantially here on the other side. I mean, I think it was just waiting for the confirmation to come out for who is going to be pitching on both sides of this. But yeah, Chase DeYoung definitely not going to be playing him whatsoever. Mets fire them up. I have no problem getting to them in this spot. Actually, a pretty low top stack percentage comparatively, 1.4%, 1.6% there, being owned about the same. Again, that just tells you that there are a lot of ways that you can go on this slate.
Yeah, I was surprised by where we had them on the top stacks tool. I wrote about them anyway because I thought they were interesting. A lot of times I like to make sure that my choice of featured stack at least kind of jives with what we're seeing on the top stack tool, or I'm using that to find a high leverage position. In this one, I just think maybe it's sneaking through the cracks, and I thought they were worth calling out. So from time to time, I'll do that. Wacky kind of a Sunday,
Yeah,
but,
no kidding.
Yeah, I like the spot for them.
Yeah, Aaron Loop is the pitcher here. So I don't have my normal setup. I've got the iPad here and I've got the computer going back and forth. So I'm trying to manage it as best as I can here. But definitely Loop, there it is. How about the dad jokes? These are good times. That one felt good. See, I got some love from Jordan Klein for that one. Okay, I feel good about myself. Moving ourselves.
As we see Rinback in the background, like shaking his head and walking out of the room.
Yeah, he had to leave already. He couldn't deal with this. Let's be serious. Yeah, there's no way he was going to deal with my jokes and antics in the same room. He would just probably just die at this point. Philly, so we're going to skip the Kansas City Royals game. That one is no longer on the board, thank goodness. Don't even have to worry about the one weather concern that we had on this slate. Philadelphia plus 105 at Boston, 9.5 total runs here. We've got Aaron Nola that is no longer going to be pitching because he is now he's on the COVID IL list, so that's not great for him. We just had Brandon Kintzler, I believe was the name of the guy that is going to be starting here for the Phillies. I remember that name from somewhere. I do not recall. So I feel like I have some vague familiarity. Maybe he was a Twin once upon a time, but Nick Pivetta on the other side. So do you have anything for pitching here? Do you know Brandon Kintzler at all?
Just pulling him back up. He was a Brewer, a Cub, a Marlin, and a Philly. I guess not a Twin. Not
a Twin. Yeah, he sounds like a Twin, doesn't he?
He does. When you said that, I was like, yeah, he was a Twin. He's been around. He's a reliever by trade, though. So this is a bullpen game. He's not a starting pitcher. I actually had Christopher Sanchez, a lefty, whoever that is, in this slot. So it's maybe a debate site to site, but it's going to be a bullpen game for Philly either way. I can absolutely smash Red Sox bats here. Doesn't look like the field is getting there. Maybe my ownership needs an update, and this is based on when Nola was in. Which would have a significant impact, obviously, to the Red Sox upside. Yeah. When I changed that pitcher, they shot up in the power index. So if you're looking at my power index in my article, that's going to be off because it was based on when Nola was starting. The Red Sox are profiling great here once again. This is a lineup I get to all the time. No real interest in Sanchez. I don't need to get to Pivetta here. He's profiling just kind of in the middle projection-wise for me. It's a Phillies lineup that is not that great against right-handed pitching in terms of where like their expectation of quality is, I guess, and their reputation as a team. I'm just trying to stall as I pull them up. They're like around the middle of the league, 24.1% strikeout rate against righties, puts them 13th in baseball, 160 team ISO, 17th in baseball, a 160 team ISO, 91 WRC plus. So they're 9% worse than average creating runs against righties. 3.53 home run rate is right around the middle of the league. There's maybe a little bit of upside. I just don't know it. 8,200 on DK, 88,000 on 8,000 on FanDuel. No ownership. Maybe a little bit of upside to squeeze, but just with the depth of starting pitching on this slate, I don't think I need to get there. It's difficult. Like, I kind of want to talk myself into at least a few shares because I do see a path for him to get to a decent start here. But it is, it's a pitcher's park, not a great spot. Are you going to roster any Pivetta here? Maybe take your opinion.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go way over the field. I think at this I almost said at this point in time, my God, that needs to just be cut out of my vocabulary forever. I'm going to have to do like shock treatment to myself to be able to stop saying such things. But I definitely like getting to Pivetta for sure in this spot, mainly because he's 1% owned. If he had any kind of ownership, if he was sitting even like around 12%, I would probably be a hard pass in this spot, but 8.6% chance of being a top 2% pitcher. He's a little bit cheaper than the guys at 9,400, 10K for sure. I'm not trying to say that he's going to outperform Ray or Woodruff or anything in this spot, but pitching has become much more highly variant, I feel like, over the course of the last couple of weeks, and I don't always know what to expect. So I might as well play the guys who are gaining no ownership whatsoever, as opposed to the false sense of security that exists in basically the identical price range.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that. That's what kind of stood out to me as I was talking through that. I'm sure you can see it working through my head as I'm looking at the ownership numbers compared to how he projects for me and all these other things. So, yeah, I think he's on the board for that reason, just given the ownership and the fact that Philly is a little bit worse than maybe their reputation would suggest against right-handed pitching.
And not only that, I think that because the Phillies they definitely skewed some numbers of theirs in the last couple of weeks with the emergence of the Wrigley Field back-to-back, well into the double-digit games that they put up to. So sometimes if you look, like if I like to group bats based on like the last month of sample size, over the course of the season as well, everything just looks very skewed. And the Phillies, I think this is a little bit bolstered. And it's a fantastic hitting environment. It's 75 degrees, 70% humidity, winds blowing out to left slightly. So I really don't have any problem stacking up the Phillies, but I definitely think Pivetta on the other side needs to be talked about and into play. But the main appeal that we have here is going to be Boston bats. They are just jumping off the page for me in a meaningful way. Philadelphia as well, top stack percentage, 9.3%, Boston, 6.4%, but you're getting basically limited ownership, only 2.4% ownership share on DK for Boston. Love getting to the Red Sox in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they just took a major, major leap in my home run model when I changed those pitchers out. So we've got 5 of the top 6 projected hitters over a 10, which is our magic number we're looking for in my home run model. And then you throw Bobby Dahlbeck in the 9 spot, also over that mark. You've got Alex Verdugo is the one hitter in the top 6 there that wasn't over 10, but he's pulling an 8.36, and he's a spectacular hitter. 283, 350, 432 on the season, creating runs 11% better than average, getting on base at a nice clip ahead of that steady core of Martinez, Bogarts, and Devers. It's just it's a really good lineup. I hate to say it as a Yankee fan, but it just really is a great Red Sox lineup. Those top 6 hitters on the average by WRC plus are creating runs 26% better than average. That's bolstered somewhat by JD at 47% over, Bogarts at 47, and Devers at 42. But that's just a great 1 through 6. You get to Plawecki in the catcher spot in the projected lineup. He's fine, got a little sneaky power upside. Not showing it so far through his 71 plate appearances, but we know it's there. Arroyo, I can take or leave, but I do like Dahlbeck and his power upside. He's been sneaky throughout the course of the season. He only slashes 218, 263, 410. He is not going to give you a wraparound play back to the top of the lineup, but he could absolutely take one deep against this bullpen.
He's got crazy power. There's a lot of power in that bat. So I've been looking forward to there's just nowhere for him to move up in this lineup, because who do you possibly move back? So Bobby Dahlbeck was always going to be on the back half of this lineup, but always makes an intriguing one-off. There's going to be that Jackie Bradley Jr. type double dong game coming up for him at some point in the 9-hole or the 8-hole for Boston. I guess, yeah, it's a guy. He's not even in the lineup though today, is he? Bobby
Oh, is he
Dalbec?
not?
Yeah, they just had the lineup. Yeah, so it's Christian Arroyo now in the 9-hole tonight. I have no appeal in him or Marwin Gonzalez, who I think might be broken. So there's that. 337 slugging on the season, 24.9% K percentage. He's really the only like freebie strikeout. Him and Christian Arroyo, I guess, 25.2% K percentage as well. Neither of them hit the ball hard. You're basically putting
Plawecki.
Yeah, it's not a great spot to be going to them. Yeah, Vasquez as well. I guess Vasquez is a better bat than Plawecki, isn't he, generally?
Yeah, generally, yeah. Plawecki does have that sneaky power that I was talking about, but we've seen Vasquez hit more than 20 home runs in a season. So, yeah, he's the better bat out of the two. So I do like getting that. No love whatsoever for Marwin. He's absolutely completely done. Arroyo, yeah, another guy not going to really help you turn the lineup over. So it becomes more that 1 through 6. You can slap Vasquez on DK. He gets a little bit sneaky on FanDuel. The upside hasn't really been there for him through this season so far, but I think he's just interesting given what we've seen him do in the past. So far this year, just a .092 ISO and 4 home runs over 295 plate appearances. So we're playing for the 2019 version of Christian Vasquez if we roster him.
Yeah, love it. Also, what I love, PrizePicks, our partner, the sponsor of the Deeper Dive today. They are offering daily prop-based contests, and they want to help you get started with the deposit bonus. That is the best way that you possibly can grow your bankroll or sustain your bankroll. Both good things. You won't be dealing with sharks or optimizers or mass entries. All you have to do is you go and pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 players on the board for their projected scores. And if you want to combine them with like NBA tonight, which obviously you need to be paying attention to, and I'll definitely be watching closely, but combine those picks with your MLB picks, and you can net up to a 10x on your entry fee. They offer NBA, MLB, WNBA, NFL, and even esports. So with these different sports, you can take advantage of their mixed sport entry feature. Just download the app in the App Store or Google Play today and make your first deposit bonus using promo code Awesemo to receive an instant deposit match up to $100 and entry into their free $1 million NBA playoffs challenge. So now also I'm going to throw this together as well, kind of 2 birds with 1 stone, but the MLB player props tool. We have, if you saw the NBA player props tool, that thing was just printing money. And now we can go over to the MLB prop tool and see the strikeouts that exist on the board today. Ryan Weathers, the under on 4.5 looks like the best spot to be going. Pablo Lopez going to the over on 5.5 against this watered down Atlanta lineup that no longer has Acuna. Definitely 2 fantastic spots, 29 and 28% expected ROI. I like putting those together on PrizePicks. I think that they make intriguing plays to combine with some NBA props that we're also going to be looking at for this evening. I love being able to play the cross-sport feature on those. It's really, really enjoyable. I suggest you try using the prop tool, combining that to really get an advantage on your, you're not playing head-to-head against anybody. You're playing against PrizePicks, but PrizePicks, they are offering that deposit bonus. You need to be taking advantage of that. Combine your sports together. Stop guessing, start winning. How about that? Is that good stuff, Terry? Yeah, these are all good things.
That is great stuff. And I like that call on the Pablo Lopez over. I've got him at 6.13 projected strikeouts, 5.44 implied. So that's a great line, but I've got him going over.
Love it. Let's keep it moving along, but thank you so much to PrizePicks. We really do appreciate your sponsorship. And again, it's a fantastic site that it's so easy to navigate, and it's really fun to play on your app. So definitely be downloading that. New York, we've got Cincinnati plus 145 at Milwaukee, 7 total runs here in this spot. Let's talk some pitching because you've got your big ace on the mound here today. And again, I don't know what's an ace anymore and what isn't. I know Jacob deGrom's really good at pitching, but that's about all I know here at the moment. Brandon Woodruff got to be a close second though. 30.7% K percentage, 32.4% hard hit percentage. Just fantastic. Luis Castillo, we know the kind of upside he can have. Just a DFS darling. Talk to me about pitching here, Terry.
Yeah, so Woodruff tops the board on our top pitchers tool. He's my number 2 by 0.2 points on my board, so really like the spot for him here. He's going up against the deadly Reds lineup. They've been very, very good through the season, so it's not the safest spot in the world for Woodruff. Cincinnati's active roster is above average in most of the things that I typically cite on the show. They create runs 7% better than average against righties. They've got a 3.89% home run rate that's better than average, 22.8% strikeout rate, puts them among the top teams in the league, and a 175 team ISO. Same story, ranks 10th best in baseball. So there's major upside for potential of them getting to him here. He's just been so good. He's been electric in limiting hard contact, 32% hard hit rate, 86.6 mile an hour average exit velo. Guys are just not getting the best part of the bat on the ball. Only a 4.3% barrel ball rate, 8 degree average launch angle. So even the few guys that do get the fat part of the ball on the bat on the ball are hitting the ball directly into the ground. Striking guys out at a 30.7% clip, only walking 6.1, 2.89 xFIP, a 0.78 whip on the season. Lot to like about Woodruff here. I don't love the matchup. The price is a lot to ask at 11-2 on FanDuel. I like the price tag a lot better at 10,000 on DK, where he mixes in. He's closer to guys like Robbie Ray on that board, closer to guys like Dylan Cease on that board. There's a lot of separation on FanDuel, so you really need him to come through with an upside start here. But he's capable. It's certainly, if we're betting on somebody to have a monster start, strike out a lot of hitters, it would be Brandon Woodruff in a vacuum. I just do get a little bit concerned about the matchup. At 36.5% ownership on DK, 20.1% on FanDuel, with a lot of options on the board, it might be a slight undercut for me, something where I'm like around the field, maybe a little bit under, and just spreading out to some of these other shares, knowing that I'm probably carving the best pitching option off of the top of my board just to try and save some money, spend it on some bats, get to one of these other pitchers, and then offset some of that ownership, get to a Robbie Ray. I think he was like 12% owned. I've got them projected around the same thing. So if I've got similar projections at much bigger savings and an ownership offset, I'm willing to take that chance that Woodruff doesn't give us the best start. Because even if the Reds put 3-4 runs on him and limit the strikeouts, he's not going to have that monster number that we need. So he's really got to come through for him to pay off that salary. That's the biggest concern.
Yeah, and he's just owned at a very, very high clip here. He did run into some trouble in that last Mets outing, but only had 76 pitches, which is great. Just maybe a little bit more rested here than normal in this spot. He went pretty deep into the seventh inning there. He was rolling through 6 innings, it looks like. But yeah, Brandon Woodruff, there's nothing you can possibly say. You can't knock the pitching profile he has, but I definitely think playing the ownership game on this slate, where there are a number of intriguing options that could definitely blow up your lineups. But yeah, if you're looking for security, Brandon Woodruff is probably as secure as it can get on this slate. I'm probably going to just be trimming it down as a little bit of an ownership play, but that's just kind of taking it from that standpoint. So I'm definitely aligned with you, Terry. I think that's a really sharp take. Looking at these Cincinnati bats, probably won't be going to many of them. If I got a one-off, maybe Winker or Castellanos or Votto, or kind of combining the three in a 3-man, but definitely not going to be looking at a full stack here. What do you think about the Reds bats? And then also we'll put the Brewers bats in, considering they're probably the more intriguing side of it. Luis Castillo, 256 expecting batting average, only a 21.2% K percentage. So that's definitely down here this season. If he's not going to miss bats, there's a number of guys that are kind of surprisingly good here so far. Willy Adames or Narvaez, but kind of group the entire bats together on this game for us.
Yeah, so I think I'm mostly with you. I would maybe just grab small sample stacks of the Reds if I'm going to them. There are bats in there that I do like. There is the potential for them to get to Woodruff here a little bit. But I think, like I said, I think it's more likely if they're going to get to him, it would be in like a 3-4 run kind of a fashion and just limiting strikeouts rather than them hanging like 9 runs and a bunch of homers on them. If I'm grabbing bats, it's the guys you named. It's Winker, it's Castellanos, maybe Votto, maybe Tyler Naquin, and Eugenio Suarez if I want to round it out to a 5-man. But it's a very low priority stack for me. I think I actually would get to some Luis Castillo shares. I think I skipped over him in going overboard on Woodruff there, but I do think he's interesting. Only 10% ownership, 8,400 on FanDuel, and very interesting at 7,900 on DK. There are a lot of strikeouts in the Brewers lineup. The confirmed lineup, 24.6% strikeout rate, particularly toward the back end when you get Jackie Bradley in there with his 30% strikeout rate. Willy Adames up top at a 29.1% strikeout rate. A lot of guys who swing and miss, and I've talked about this lineup a lot. It's just not a good lineup, in my opinion. You've got Christian Yelich in there. Willy Adames as your second best hitter is not that great. He's an okay hitter. Decent amount of pop in his bat, 216 ISO, 14 home runs on the year. Not much of a hit tool to speak of. Narvaez, similar story. Avi Garcia, Jace Peterson. This is not a great major league lineup. There's some lefty pop toward the end of it that threatens Castillo a little with Rowdy Tellez, Jackie Bradley, who I mentioned before. But I don't fear this lineup. So I think Castillo, who's kind of been rounding into form, kind of gotten rid of some of the bad luck around batted balls that have been plaguing him through the first half of the season. There might be some sneaky upside here for him. So I wouldn't cross him out. I would get to some of these Brewers stacks, even though I don't like them, even though they're not profiling that great, just for the potential that Castillo's gotten lit up so many times this year already, that there is some upside there, and they're not drawing a lot of ownership. So that would get to the appeal. I would roster Yelich alongside with probably Adames, and then maybe some of those left-handed power bats here.
Yeah, the MLB, the top pitchers tool does such a good job of clearly showing you kind of where people are going to be going compared to where they should be going. And of course, Brandon Woodruff's going to be a little bit overowned comparatively. You can't really knock that whatsoever. He's still going to show up with a 23% chance, but it makes it easy to go to a guy like Robbie Ray and say, I want to have a little bit more of him because he's got such a close chance to outperforming Woodruff. Same thing exists with Luis Castillo in this range, and he's 7,900 on DK. So you're getting a price discount, and he's better than guys like Cease and Valdez point per dollar. So I think that there are some amazing decisions you can make with that. And so I love the Luis Castillo call. I don't think Milwaukee's very good either. I'm right there with you. Let's talk about some good lineups. How about that? Yankees plus 120 at Houston, 8.5 total runs here in this spot. I don't really understand what I'm going to be doing with Valdez here. I don't know why I would ever want to be picking on them, but if I'm going to have interest in a guy like, if I'm going to be targeting the Phillies with Pivetta, I can't be saying I shouldn't be playing Valdez, who actually projects out a little bit better. The Yankees, they do have some strikeouts in the lineup with Stanton, Judge, Sanchez, and such. So I think that there's definitely an opportunity for him to outperform the 22.6% K percentage he has for the season. But Jameson Taillon, definitely a hard pass for me on this slate in this spot against this Houston team that does not strike out. But what are you seeing from pitchers here?
Yeah, if I was going under the field on Garrett Cole against the same Astros lineup, I'm definitely not going to touch Jameson Taillon in this spot. Yeah. We saw Cole have a monster start last night. I was happy to see that. Got rid of some of the things that are plaguing him against his former team. Complete game shutout, dynamite start. We're not going to see the same thing from Jameson Taillon here. So no love, despite the 7,400, despite the 6,900. I want no part of it. Astros, just the best team in baseball in terms of offense, in terms of limiting strikeouts against both hands. I talk about it a lot. They're at a 19.6% strikeout rate against righties. They also create runs better than any team in the league against right-handed pitching. It's just a stay-away spot for Taillon there. Framber on the other side doesn't project out great for me. He's in kind of the middle of the pack, I guess, and behind a lot of the other pitchers, some of whom cost a lot less. So I'm probably not going to be there. It doesn't look like the field's there. So if you wanted to do it, he is a good pitcher. The strikeouts aren't really his specialty, but what he does amazingly well is limit power. And that's what the Yankees need. The Yankees need to hit home runs to score runs. They are not a sequential hitting team by any means. So from that perspective, from the idea that there are maybe a few bonus strikeouts for him around guys like Luke Voit and his 30% strikeout rate, around Gary Sanchez and his 27.1, maybe you can get to some shares of Framber. I just don't love it for 10,000 on FanDuel. At 8,700 on DK, he's a lot more interesting at only 4.2% ownership. I could get to some shares over there. He's got a 70% plus ground ball rate on the season. Yeah. Guys just hit the ball directly into the ground. A negative 6.7 degree average launch angle. Negative 6.7. Guys cannot elevate the ball against this guy. So I expect him to completely suppress my Yankees here. It's just a matter of whether he picks up the strikeouts or not.
Yep. And you made the case for why not to go to the Yankees. I think the case for them is the fact that they're going a little bit underrepresented, 5% chance of being a top stack, 2.6%. And we know, or 2.6% chance of being, or 2.6% ownership is what I'm getting at. Of course, here we go. This Miami is starting to kick in a little bit, let me tell you, but I'm sticking with it. We're going to keep it rolling. I don't really see any bats for the Yankees outside of the usual suspects, in the event that Framber somehow decides to start giving up fly balls, but it just does not seem likely with the negative 6.4 degree launch angle that you talked about. Houston side, I think I can definitely be stacking them up, but what do you think?
Yeah, the confirmed lineups just dropped for these teams, so I'm going to pop them in here just to make sure that there's no changes or anything wacky here. It looks like the Yanks have Urshela in the 7 spot, Tim LaCastro in the lineup in the 8, Brett Gardner in the lineup in the 9 spot. What else missing though? Judge, yeah, the top of the lineups is basically where we wanted it, 1 through 6 anyway for the Yanks, so that's fine. And then on the Astros side of things, looks like they're basically normal lineup. I'd be focused on the top, kind of on the obvious guys around your Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Jordan Alvarez, Yuli Gurriel, and Kyle Tuckers of the world. Abraham Toro's a little bit interesting in the 7th spot on their lineup, kind of an underrated guy who's maybe not drawing all that much ownership. Yeah. 0.5% ownership at 2,500 on FanDuel, 0.9% at 3,100 on DK. I can get to some Abraham Toro. Only 89 plate appearances through the season, 3 home runs, a 113 ISO. There's more power than that in his bat. We've seen it in the minor leagues. He's got a little bit of speed as well. He's stolen 2 bags in his 89 plate appearances. So he's somewhat interesting. Combining guys like that, you don't really need to offset ownership because this team's going under-owned. So I really like the top of the lineup there and Abraham Toro if I'm going to the Astros. And then for the Yanks, like I said, LeMahieu, Judge, Sanchez, Stanton, Voit, and Torres are the interesting hitters.
Love it. Detroit, plus, what is it? Plus 195. There we go. 9.5 total runs here for this game. Minnesota being taken place in Target Field here. Wiley Peralta is terrible at pitching. Jose Barrios is pretty good at pitching. 25.7% K percentage is higher than he's been in recent years. At least it seems as though that is the case. Jose Barrios, not a guy that is generally, this is his career high K percentage number so far this season. Just kind of been trending up in that department throughout his career, starting back in 2016 up until 2021. I would say it's very surprising. Not a guy that I think I have a couple biases against him, which is ironic because I'm a Twins fan, but just not somebody that ever seemed like he was going to be spiking upside in the K department. Certainly is now enough to be the third most likely pitcher on DraftKings. 19.8% top two pitcher percentage. Ownership about flat on that, a little bit higher, I guess, 28.4%. But at 8K, how do you not love Jose Barrios today?
Yeah, that's a smash spot on DK. Kind of a misprice, I think, considering the matchup going up against the worst team in baseball, the Tigers here. It's a great spot for Barrios. I like him at 9,900 on FanDuel quite a bit, where he's drawing 12% ownership. That is a home run spot for me. 24.7% strikeout rate on the season, 3.60 xFIP, inducing 10.1% swinging strikes, 29.2 CSW is fine. Doesn't really give up that much power. 37.8% hard hit rate is fine. 88 mile an hour average exit velo. So I like a lot of Jose Barrios here. I would expect that I'll be over the field given my projection and given how the ownership was breaking down. Like if I'm going away from some of the shares on a guy like Woodruff, I might land on some more additional Barrios shares. I just like attacking this Tigers team. And then on the other side, the way that you pronounced Willie Peralta or Wiley Peralta, I'm not honestly sure which it is, but that just conjured Wiley E. Coyote. And based on the Twins home run marks here, I'm just getting that Acme box, the Acme rocket exploding in my head. So that is a major home run upside spot for the Twins here. I really like the power profile. I like everything about the Twins except for the ownership that they're pulling here. On DK, they're a little bit better, a little bit more favorable ownership numbers.
Yeah, you were talking about FanDuel. I was just pulling that up. 17.8% ownership share, 9.4% chance of being the top stack. So that's second highest on the FanDuel slate. Definitely like Minnesota, but as you said, the ownership just is already there. There is no question about it. But the nice thing about Minnesota as well is that you can kind of play just about everybody 1 through 8. I don't really want to play Simmons, but 1 through 8, it seems as though everybody's got some upside. And they're cheap over on DraftKings, just very, very cheap between Araz. Outside of Donaldson and Cruz, everybody sitting at a very manageable number. Hard not to enjoy. I like getting to Kepler at 3.2K in the 7-hole. Jeffers even at catcher 3.3K. A very, very doable team to stack up. On the other side for Detroit, really no interest in going to anybody there. But what are you seeing from bats here?
Yeah, nothing really for me from Detroit. It's a team that I tend not to grab regardless of the situation. Every now and then is like a hedge or a contrarian stack against the highly owned pitcher. But to me, this is just a spot where I think they're going to get shut down by Barrios. So I'm not going to them. If you want to grab some of those hitters, it's Akil Baddoo, Jonathan Scope, Jaime Candelario, Robbie Grossman, and maybe Miguel Cabrera or Harold Castro. But you can sense my enthusiasm, I think. I'm with you on the Twins. I think Twins 1 through 9. I'm even willing to include Andrelton Simmons at the bottom of the lineup. Okay. Just a 2,100 on FanDuel, I think, makes him playable enough. A guy that could potentially turn the lineup over, bring it back to with Josh Donaldson to hit a home run. But it's much more about the Donaldson, Larnach, Cruz, Kirilloff, Polanco, Kepler core there for me. Love the idea of Max Kepler for cheap, no ownership against a bad righty.
I like how you were like the core plays, and then you just listed the lineup because that's true. I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, what a horrendous year it's been. But at least our lineup hits the ball very, very hard, and there's some definite upside. Our pitching leaves a lot to be desired. But Jose Barrios, this just feels like if I'm going to be betting a game today, just smash the Twin side of it here and include that in every parlay the rest of your day. Feels like a freebie. And now that I said that, of course Detroit's going to hang a 10 spot on him. But whatever. Just talking into existence. Let's go. St. Louis minus 105 going into Chicago here. I believe that line has come out now at this point in time. Yes, everybody drank 3.6 runs here. So 7 total runs we're looking at. It is a wind in game here in Wrigley. There's some possible light rain that's existing in that forecast. 70 degrees, 80% humidity though. But yeah, 15 mile an hour wind blowing in. That bodes really well for the likes of Adam Wainwright and Trevor Williams. Probably won't be rostering a lot of Trevor Williams because I never do. But for sure, I'm going to have some interest in Adam Wainwright, a guy who 22.6% K percentage doesn't look great. I guess Trevor Williams even a little bit better, 24%. But he's been just fantastic at limiting hard contact, and he's cheap again on DraftKings. What do you think about Adam Wainwright today?
Yep, love Waino. I like that we're getting one. It feels like a little bonus year at the end of Waino's career here. He's pitching well. He's a guy that I couldn't quit even during his decline. So I'm happy that he's had a few nice starts here for us DFS-wise through the season. He comes in at a fair price, 8,600 on FanDuel, 7,800 on DK. There's a lot to like there. 23.3% strikeouts. It's not a major strikeout guy anymore, only an 8.8% swinging strike rate, but a 30.5% CSW. He works around the plate. He knows how to work the edges, get those called strikes, limits hard hit, limits the average exit velo. So it's capping the home run upside for the Cubs, who usually do break through the home run model, at least some of those premium hitters in their lineup. So I like the spot for Waino here. It's maybe not, the highest end spot on the board in terms of if you're only rostering one pitcher on the FanDuel slate, but the Cubs are the worst team in baseball with a 26.7% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. They only create runs 12% worse than average against righties. They've got a 4.05% home run rate. That's one of the better marks against right-handed pitching. So maybe he gets dinged for a homer, but given his ability to keep the ball in the yard and just the way that they're profiling and the bonus strikeouts, I think it's a really good spot for Waino here, and he's not getting the attention that he deserves. So I'll have a decent amount of shares, easy to get well over the field at 3% ownership on FanDuel and under 10% on DK. So I like the spot a lot.
Yeah, Cubs and St. Louis both under 3% stack opportunity that exists there. I really am seeing no bats that I want to be going to. We could probably save ourselves some time, but unless you've got anything that's sticking out to you, let me know. But otherwise, you kind of seeing the same thing.
Yeah, similar in a vacuum. I would be going to these Cards bats against Trevor Williams here, but considering the wind blowing in, I think that maybe takes some of the top off of it. They project okay, so if I land with some of them, I'll take them. I do get decent home run marks for those guys, but I would be concerned about rostering with that heavy wind blowing in.
Yeah, 3% chance they're getting a little bit of positive leverage. Maybe it's just a single and double them to death kind of spot. But as you said, Trevor Williams giving up a lot of hard contact, 47.5% on the season. So maybe a tiny bit of St. Louis sprinkled in your 150 if you're playing that direction, but not anything I'm going to get to in a meaningful way. Let's round it out. Oakland, minus 130, Texas, 8.5 total runs here in this game. Don't really even have the pitchers up here at this. Well, there we go. Of course, Bassett's on the mound. Okay, so a guy I actually do like, somebody that I was very high on coming into this season in year-long stuff and has been pretty decent. He got up to 10K miraculously out of the middle of nowhere. He's 8.8K. It's a little bit more manageable against this Texas team, but 89 degrees, if they're going to keep that roof open in Arlington, definitely going to be favorable hitting conditions, 56% humidity as well, along with 90 degrees, 4.6 implied runs here for the Oakland side of it. I like that lineup up and down, but Chris Bassett, somebody I'm definitely going to get to as well. Looks like he's not getting pretty much any ownership here at this point in time. Do I see this? Yeah, I just said at this point in time, whatever. I don't even care anymore. I just want everybody to get enjoy your mimosas this morning. But what are you seeing from the pitching in this spot, Terry?
At this point in time, I think you've said at this point in time like 5 times already through this show. And this point in time, I am loving Chris Bassett in this spot.
Okay,
extremely low ownership, 9,700 on the FanDuel slate. I like the fact that the price is pushing some of you guys away from him. I think that's a mistake. It's an upside spot for him in terms of strikeouts, 26% strikeout rate for the confirmed Texas lineup. They've got a little bit of power, but you don't have Joey Gallo in the lineup today. Love that. Takes the biggest lefty bat out of the equation for the Rangers here. Just a smash spot for Chris Bassett. 25.2% strikeout rate on the season, 10.2% swinging, 28.2% CSW. He could actually work around the plate a little bit more. Gives you great depth, 106 2/3 in 7 innings pitched in 17 starts. Doesn't get too much contact against, and only a 32.8% hard hit rate, 87.5 mile an hour average exit velo. Nothing in terms of power coming back the other way against him here for the Rangers. So I really, really like the spot. It got better when we took Joey Gallo out of this lineup when we dropped the confirmed lineup in here. So I'm going to be way over the field on Chris Bassett. He is my top projected pitcher on the day. I drafted 3 guys in our Dynasty League this season. They were Jesse Winker, Tommy Edman, and Mr. Chris Bassett. I only had 3 picks because it's a Dynasty League, but I feel like I crushed them all.
That's a smash. Oh, okay. First of all, we've never gotten to talk about Bassett on a show together, so I'm very happy that you feel the same way about him. The roof is going to be closed. One EMac, the president of 2024, EMac himself, letting me know from Ranger Blake on Twitter that he is that the roof's going to be closed there in Arlington. That just further bolsters his profile in this spot. No Gallo in the lineup. Just sign me up for all the Chris Bassett. And he's going a little bit under-owned as well on DraftKings. So 8.8K seems strange to be paying for him. When we've been able to play him at much cheaper throughout the year. But it's definitely come on of late, but he has earned it for sure. Looking at this Oakland lineup, I love getting to Olsen. I love getting to, if we're going to see Laureano and Andrus up at the top of this lineup, Andrus just, makes at least contact with the ball. So that's nifty. But yeah, Matt Olson, my priority here. But what are you seeing from the Oakland lineup and Texas Rangers lineup to round us out today?
Yeah, Olsen would be my priority in that projected A's lineup. I still like Matt Chapman despite his struggles this season. We just know there's a ton of quality in there. Former MVP candidate type of a guy. Sean Murphy's got power upside that's a little bit sneaky, goes a little bit underrated as a catcher on DK. 4,200 and only 4.2% ownership. I can definitely invest in that. I don't love Elvis. I think he left a lot of his talent behind him in Texas. He's up to 8 stolen bases, but the 277 on base is just miscast at the top of the lineup there. He makes a better 8 or 9 hitter at this point in his career, but I love Ramon Laureano up top. A lot of power, a lot of speed. So excellent hitter. And he's not drawing all that much attention. 3,500 on the FanDuel slate, around 12% ownership, 4,900 on DK. Under 10% ownership. So I can definitely get to some A stacks here. Profile pretty well for me against Colby Allard here. 24.6% strikeout rate for him, but just giving up 17-degree average launch angle, 89.5 mile an hour average. Exit velo is getting up there. He's not terrible with hard hit, 36.6% hard hit, but he's just not a premium pitcher. I think there's some meat on the bone for A stacks. So I would be attacking Colby Allard, and I would not, even in a contrarian or hedge stack approach, be throwing, I don't think, any Rangers stacks back at Chris Bassett, even though I'm going to be way over the field on him. I just don't see it for them today.
Terry, we got through 10 games in less than an hour. That is fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for all the analysis, all the goodies. Yes, I said goodies as well. Gundacker, there you go, my guy. But any final words for the people as we round this thing out?
Just good luck out there, and then go enjoy your Sundays. I'll be writing the NBA deep dive for the next hour and change. That'll be up on the show or on the site later on. My free baseball article got done before this show, so that's been up. And good luck. Enjoy your Sunday.
Awesome. I'm going to enjoy mine for sure. Best of luck to all the Awesemo guys playing in the live final here tonight. Specifically, Rinpack. Yeah, good luck to the team. Hopefully they can get it done here. It's going to be a blast, but you need to be checking out the MLB Live Before Lock coming up next year with EMac and Max, my guys. NBA Live Before Lock tonight, Aton and Greg at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. He's Terry, I'm Eric. We're out of here.
Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with Max, DFS Max over there on Twitter as we get down for a 10-game slate now. We just had a game canceled. That would be Cleveland and Kansas City. We've got a little rain going on in Chicago with the Cubbies. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Thank you to Eric Lindquist and Terry McBride breaking down the game by game. We're going to kind of highlight some pictures, some stacks, some weather, some approaches, and what else is going on. Max, I see behind you. Is that a Money Time hat?
It is a Money Time hat. Back when I was on that show, I purchased one so I could be part of the cool crew. But I haven't been on that show in a while, so now it just sits there.
All right. Well, I'm glad I caught that. You got it. You need to get that signed by the one and only Chris Spags.
I really do. It's worth a lot more with T-signs.
Absolutely. I mean, then you got to put it like in a little case or something. Yeah, it'll be
It's
crucial.
a celeb.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to kind of duck in and out of a variety of things here. We, of course, are sponsored by PrizePicks. So I want to remind you guys, if you sign up using the promo code Awesemo when you make your first deposit, they will match you up to $100. PrizePicks. You don't have to worry about sharks, optimizers. There are no mass multi-entry people over there. Looking at you, Alex, looking at you. But you pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 players available on their board to go over or under. They have currently today, they have 9 different sports available. You can look at traditional props. You can look at fantasy point props. You can do cross-sport props. It is a lot of fun over there. We'll talk about a few baseball props as we go in throughout the show. But I did want to point out that $100 deposit match, tough to beat, currently the highest one in the industry amongst all of the DFS sites. Max, what was your take on Garrett Cole? 129 pitches last night, 1-0 victory. All rise. Aaron Judge hit a solo shot. Was that a good night for you?
Yeah, did you see Judge clowning Altuve?
One of these?
That was great. I love that. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are finally winning some games, and when it's against Houston, that's like doubly good. Yeah, I mean, hopefully all this Cole stuff stops now. Like, he's still a great pitcher. Kind of went on a little bit of a bad streak, right, as the sticky stuff got banned. But I don't know if it's related. Like, he's still throwing 98, 99. The swing and miss stuff is the same. I think he was just like unlucky for a bit. But yeah, definitely just like wanted to prove that he is still the man, especially against his old team yesterday. And I love the fact that he would not let himself get taken out of the game. That showed some guts. Yeah, I mean, hopefully all this Cole slander can stop. The guy's a great pitcher. It was a good signing for the Yankees. So whatever.
All right. Well, the Yankees still 6.5 back from Tampa Bay, 8 from Boston, and heck, even the Seattle Mariners are 2 games ahead of them in the win column. Yes, that is the Seattle Mariners, who are 48 and 42, have won 7 of their last 10, and they have a negative, I'm going to say this one more time, a negative run differential of 44 runs. Sometimes teams are hard luck teams. The Blue Jays, just 2 games above 500. They have a plus 70 run differential. Wow. That's crazy, folks. That is just crazy. Let's get into some of our highlights here today. A reminder that this show will not be on the Awesemo podcast network, but we have almost all of our other shows are out there. Anything that has a shelf life is going to be on there. We have a new YouTube channel, the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, pumping out tons of content there every day, talking about dynasty drafts, best ball drafts, redrafts, talking about what to do after the first round, mocking entire first rounds. That is Dave Laffy, D. Lochran, and Matt Gajeski that are doing the heavy lifting on there. You're getting some input there from some of the other guys. There was a little bit of a roundtable show. We also have the Awesemo Football podcast network, or podcast channel, I should say. The Awesemo main channel has all of our shows on it, but then we've broken out everything by sport. So what I've done is I have subscribed to both. So now I just get all these football podcasts to the same to one spot, and I just listen to them when I'm out running errands and walking the dog, etc. So good time there, and I'm catching up because it's going to be draft time this week. It's last day of baseball, Max, until Friday. Last day of multi-game baseball. Yes, there's the All-Star game, and yes, there's one game on Thursday, but there's not another multi-game slate until Friday. How are you feeling about that? You doing anything in the off time here? Because we have 2 NBA
it's
games.
Not off time because we got the Open Championship in England going on Thursday. So I have to prepare for that. Going to be a lot of betting stuff. Going to be a lot of DFS stuff. It's last major of the year. So that's going to be fun. So that's probably what I'll be doing most of the week. And then the finals are still on. So a lot of NBA going on.
We have lots and lots of good stuff. All right, let's kind of jump in here. Let's look at some of our pitchers first. At the top of the list, we have a Brandon Woodruff. I've got some thoughts on him. Robbie Ray, I'm guessing piques your interest. You like those strikeout guys. We'll talk a little bit about Ian Anderson and Pablo Lopez squaring off. Adam Wainwright. Those are kind of the key players that I am focused on. The interesting thing about Brandon Woodruff, despite this being the fourth series between the Reds and the Brewers, and despite today being game 13 thus far this season, Woodruff has not yet faced the Reds. That Freddie Peralta last night, that was his fourth time going against the Reds. And somehow Woodruff, this is going to be his first. The vagaries of the MLB schedule on all of this is kind of fun, but it's kind of a pricing thing. So 53 on Yahoo, 11.2 on FanDuel, 10,000 on DraftKings, 3.1 or so implied run total coming here for the Reds. You've got Woodruff, who's kind of interesting. He is fourth in the league with a 2.1 ERA, second with a 0.78 whip, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The best part, he has allowed just 9 home runs in 107 innings. Not an easy matchup against the Cincinnati Reds, but I do like Brandon Woodruff. Start us off there, Max. How are you feeling about Woodruff? Or is it going to be Robbie Ray for you?
Yeah, I just don't think that I want to pay the same price as Ray in a worse strikeout matchup against a better hitting team and at 15% more ownership. I don't think that makes a lot of sense in the long run in GPPs. And cash, sure, you can do that. But in GPPs, I think for me, I would go Ray. Better strikeout matchup. The Ray strikeout at a bottom 5 clip. And Woodruff is facing a team in Cincinnati that has a lot of good hitters in the middle of this order. Jesse Winker, Castellanos, Votto is kind of resurgent this year, slugging of 537 for him. Jonathan India doesn't really strike out at the top of the lineup. And then you get Naquin is still pretty good, hits for power, strikes out a bunch. Suarez, same thing. I mean, then there's throwaways with Freeman and Castillo. So I think I like Ray a bit more in GPPs. Looking at Woodruff's strikeout stuff, the last 5 starts, 9% swinging strikes, 12, 10, 10, and 8. This is not something I want to pay $10K for. I just don't see a ton of upside. Sure, he's still really not giving up much power at all. xFIP of 259, 427, 323. These are all good. But I don't think he's the type of guy that I want to go over the field as chalk in this spot.
All right, moving down to a little bit more conservative, and I say conservative plays. They're not quite the boom bust as a Robbie Ray, but you've got Ian Anderson and you have Pablo Lopez here. Now, they both have their merit, similarly priced. I've gone back and forth as to which I preferred more. Very low run total for this game that's going to be in Marlins Park. You have Ian Anderson, who's currently consistently throwing 90 to 95 pitches. That generally is going to get him into the 5th inning and beyond. That has him in play for a quality start, although I believe only about half of his starts have actually been quality starts this year. That's not horrible by any stretch. It's still just flirting with the top 10 from a raw number. About 25 pitchers are ahead of him because a lot of them are tied at 9 and 10, but he's sitting there at 8. So he's kind of interesting. Marlins 25.5% strikeout rate against righties this season, 5th worst team in scoring efficiency, bottom 3 in power. On the other side, we have Pablo Lopez, who kind of gets dismissed out of hand a lot of times by DFS gamers because he plays for the Marlins. 2 things going in his favor. 1, he's actually a pretty darn good pitcher. And 2, sadly, Ronald Acuna lost last night with a torn ACL, will be out for the remainder of the season. Pablo Lopez just outside the top 20 with the 2.94 ERA, a 1.08 whip, and almost 10 strikeouts per inning. I think you can pair these guys together, hope for a bit of a pitcher's duel here. Not quite the upside of the first 2 guys we mentioned, but perhaps a little bit better floor or baseline, shall we say. What do you think about the pitchers going in Marlins Park?
I mean, I think we have to start off by saying, let's pour one out for Acuna here. There's my drink. It's a sad, sad situation. The guy's maybe a top 5 player in the league right now, out for the year. I mean, it's really good for Pablo Lopez, though. He's 1K less than Anderson, and they're pretty much the same pitcher, as you mentioned. Just don't give up a lot of power. Strikeout rate 24% for Anderson, 27 for Lopez. Hard hits a bit more for Anderson, a bit less for Lopez. But I think because the lineup is still better for the Braves, it kind of evens itself out. So for me, just play the lower owned guy, right? So Lopez is 31% owned projected. Anderson only 23%. So I'm going to have more Anderson than I will Lopez. I think it's a very similar spot. Lopez is a little bit more discounted. I love both of these guys more for cash than I do GPPs, just because of what you mentioned. I think they have lower upside than a Robbie Ray, than a Woodruff does. So I know they're cheaper, but when we're going to talk about stacks, we'll kind of talk about the fact that there aren't really that many expensive stacks we want to pay up for today. So I think you can play these guys more in cash. In GPPs, I would go Anderson first, Lopez second.
All right. Is there anybody else that is piquing your interest here when it comes to the pitchers? The only other guy I've got on my list is Adam Wainwright. So we'll kind of dovetail this in with the weather. So yes, there are some weather concerns there. There is a chance of postponement, depending on if you're looking at Twitter, if you're looking at our sources in the probability model. I think last time I checked, we had about a 10% chance of this being postponed. We do have the benefit of this game not starting until an hour after lock. So we will have additional time and additional information. The thing that just still flabbergasts me is we can never get accurate information of what is going on with the weather. And I mean, wouldn't it just be nice if there was a stadium cam that just you could go to on Twitter and you could just see, is it raining or not right now? So yesterday I took that whole game out of my player pool because that game was starting at 7:15. I was on a show and I didn't have time to react to it. So I just said, you know what? I'm not going to go there. I ended up watching more of that game and I kept waiting for rain to come. And you could still see the raindrops on the helmets here and there. A lot of the fans were wearing the little plastic the baggy, plastic baggy looking emergency, oops, it's raining and I'm not dressed for it outfit. Ponchos, thank you. Producer Jordan, always there with whatever word we're looking for. He's there. Kimchi is the safe word of the day. All right, that was from Eitan's show with Josh. What is the worst thing you can cook in an office setting in a microwave?
But why would you cook kimchi? Doesn't it come like cold?
I was trying to think of what would be super stinky. I don't mind it at all. It's very pungent. So
yeah, but like I don't know, like salmon or like some kind of fish.
So fish was number one. Burned popcorn was number two.
Oh yeah, that's happened a lot. I feel like when I used to work in an office, burnt popcorn was a big thing. People would just forget about it.
Yeah. Well, plus whenever, and yes, we're off the rails. We'll be right back. But whatever office microwaves, they're never consistent with what you have at home, right? Because it's always bought out of an office
like
supply catalog, and they're like 600 watt or whatever. So you're cooking things forever.
And popcorn is one of the things like my office used to provide for free. Like it was always stacked in the drawer. So that's like the one thing that you didn't have to pay for from the vending machine.
That is someone's cruel joke, is what that is. That is bought and paid for by someone who does not sit at that location. I guarantee.
Probably. Yeah, 100%.
All right. So reining ourselves back in, Wainwright, I think, is actually a decent option today. He was the in-game, and I actually enjoy him. He's got a lot of good stories. I think he is going to turn 40 this year, or at least in the off season. So he's been around for a long time, but he was one of the in-game interviews where they had the game going on and they were talking to him. They also talked to Brandon Woodruff, the pitchers who are going today on the Fox broadcast. I ended up watching more of that game than I intended, even though I didn't have anybody in there because I found it interesting to hear what those guys had to say. But Wainwright coming with a bit of a resurgence this year, finally healthy for the first time in a long time. And even he said that. He's like, well, I'm finally healthy. He goes, it's not, his word was, it's not like I'm throwing 81, putting everything I can behind it and feeling like my arm is following after the ball and spinning over the catcher's head. He's like, I feel better. It's helpful. He was talking about workout routine and stuff like that. Now he's changed everything and he's just not crazy anymore. And he's more in flexibility and all of that. So he's like, I am, more or less paraphrasing, I'm on borrowed time and I know it, but I'm still having a lot of fun. So he's kind of pitching more relaxed this year than he has in quite some time. But he's someone I'm really interested in today. How do you feel about him? And then Daniel in chat is asking your thoughts for Berrios. Or Berrios.
Yeah, Berrios is the other guy that's going to be really chalky today. I like the spot. There's good swing and miss stuff there. So I definitely would play some of him. Wainwright's just never the type of guy that I go after just because of the strikeouts. He's always priced up because he never really gives up many runs. This Cubs lineup does have a ton of strikeouts in it normally, but with Nico Horner in it, it's a little bit less. Hayward doesn't really strike out, but everybody else pretty much does. So, sure, you can put some Wainwright in GPPs also. But for me, like, if I'm going for upside, it's always going to be Dylan Cease, just because the guy has such incredible swing and miss stuff, and the Baltimore lineup strikes out a bunch. It's not a great spot just because it's in Baltimore in 90-degree weather with 60% humidity, so you don't have to hit the ball very hard at Camden to get it out. But, that's the guy I would play. He's 9.5K, but he has just as much upside as, Robbie Ray and Woodruff do today. So Cease for me in GPPs. Berrios, let me look. His last start was really impressive as far as swing and miss stuff goes. And he's facing Detroit, which is always a good thing. But he's projected to be our third highest owned pitcher. Yeah, he had 14% swing and miss stuff last start, swinging strike miss. But 4% the start before. It's just very hit or miss with him. I don't think I want to play him as chalk as much as I would somebody like Cease or the other guys we mentioned in the Marlins park. So Berrios is probably not the guy I'm going to be over the field on today. I'm going to be over the field on Cease for sure, just because we have him projected for 4% ownership, which is incredible for me.
All right, to continue on down, one guy I did want to mention as potential pitcher to take is going to be Chris Bassett.
Yeah.
So no Joey Gallo in the lineup for Texas. They have a 4 implied run total. The roof is going to be closed there. We have, Chris Bassett, 8,800 on DK. He's going to have to, let's put this way. Brock Holt is leading off. Okay. Yeah. Potentially he runs into one, probably not. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, all right, maybe he'll steal some bases. Adolis Garcia, a little bit of power, but Chris Bassett's pretty good against righties. Nate Lowe, all right, now we're talking one potentially risky guy. And then now we're down to John Hicks, David Dahl, Eli White, Jason Martin, and Nick Solak. There's nobody scary in this Texas lineup. The roof is closed. 4 implied run total here. How are you feeling about Mr. Bassett?
It's a great spot for Bassett. And for some reason, I thought he would be chalk, but he's only projected for 14% at 8,800. Maybe the price is too high, but he has 26% strikeouts this year, only 33% hard hits. The roof is closed in Texas. The lineup is watered down today without Gallo, and everybody strikes out in this lineup over 25%, except for Holt and Kiner-Falefa. So Garcia is dangerous, sure, 30% strikeouts though. Nate Lowe 26. Hicks 26, Dahl 26, Eli White 30, Jason Martin 37. These guys all strike out a ton. I love Bassett, but I also think if you want to save some money, Allard makes a lot of sense as well. 25% strikeouts, only 36% hard hits. X-slugging given up a 393. We love when that number's in the threes. The A's lineup is dangerous for sure, but they also strike out a bunch. So I like the spot for both pitchers.
Have you seen and if you have that up, I don't have that screen up, but the let's just call them the back of the baseball numbers there for Colby Allard shocked the hell out of me. I started to look at the A's as a team to write up in the spotlight hitters and stacks column, and then I almost started thinking about writing up Allard as a pitcher because it caught me off guard how successful he has been. Is there anything with this underlying metrics that would have us lean towards this being a bit of a mirage or this being something that could be a sustainable trend?
I'm never into guys that throw 91 or 92 or whatever, but he uses his off-speed stuff a ton. His cutter, he throws 24%, changeup 18%, which is what keeps the righties guessing against him.
Isn't he too young to be a crafty lefty yet?
Yeah, but some of these guys are just always start out as crafty lefties and stay crafty lefties their whole career. There's nothing that would throw me off here. I love his stuff, and his xFIP numbers are really, really good as well. I think he's probably getting a little bit lucky in the strikeout department. Only 12% swinging strikes last start, but 9 strikeouts. Of course, it's against Detroit, so you always have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt against the team that swing and misses so much. But yeah, he's faced Oakland. This is going to be his third time in 4 starts, which is always a little bit concerning. But he's done well against them. Let's see, his xFIP against Oakland was in the 4s, both starts. And then, yeah, like the fact that he's facing them 3 times in 4 starts is a little bit concerning for me.
All right. Let's kind of switch over here. Now, this is the borderline people. I'm going to get Jordan's attention. Hey, should we do a little Hall of Fame? We want to do that next. Let's not today. Okay. Well, for short on time here, I just wanted to check. I didn't have that, or I had it tentatively in the run sheet. But I do want to point out, we do have the Awesemo Hall of Fame. You can follow us on Twitter. Send any screenshots, any winning screenshots. Have that little Awesemo avatar in there. Send it to Awesemo HOA on Homeowners Association, HOF.
Dude, you just like aged yourself and me as well.
I was in property management for the first 7 years of my career. So HOA is definitely.
When we were buying a house, I was like, okay, what's the HOA fee? What's the HOA fee?
My wife wants to look at something down in Florida, like a little vacation condo or something like that. And it's all cheap, everything until you get to the HOAs. And you're like, how much?
And the fact that none of these HOAs will let you do Airbnb. Yes. So like we looked into buying a house there as well, and you just can never get your money back if you can't Airbnb it.
Yeah. All right. So I want to mention that, of course, if you guys do win, and we support all wins, large and small, but if you do finish top 3, no ties, top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 entries while supporting the Awesemo avatar, you will get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content if you tweet at Awesemo HOF and Awesemo_COM. And look at that. No Cubbies game today. PPD. That makes it easy for us.
That makes it super easy. No way, no.
No way, no. But that's okay. I haven't gone over to make those lineups yet. And I excluded that game from my my DK tiers. So no tiers for me because I don't have to worry about that one. I was going to transition us into the Houston game. Your thoughts on Jameson Taillon. I looked at him as potentially being a pitcher that I would look to, maybe as an SP2. I'm no longer feeling that way. But in chat, we have David reaching out saying, Houston, anyone?
No. Because I don't know, Taillon is such a weird guy for me. I used to never target batters against him because he used to be such a big ground ball guy. So the ball never goes in the air. Like the only way he gets really beat up is if you string a bunch of hits against him. But this Astros lineup is so strange. Like the top 5 are really good, and then the bottom 4 just are not good anymore. Correa is not in the lineup, right? Did he get hurt or something?
He is on paternity/COVID list, I believe.
Okay.
Or perhaps that's why he's not going to the All-Star game, because his significant other is expecting. I think it's because all the Houston players have bailed on the All-Star game. That's just me saying that. So and every pundit out there saying it, not just me.
I think I would play Tucker and Alvarez and just avoid the rest of the Astros is my answer.
Really?
Yeah, just because I don't like the stack. Yuli Gurriel slugging is 394. That's not what you want out of a first baseman. Like you can do better. Altuve, I just never play because he's always like 5,500 and his slugging is 452 and his hard hits are 38%. But then like Brantley, Alvarez, and Tucker are really, really good. And I guess you could throw in Chas McCormick just because he swings to the fences every at bat, but he has a 30% strikeout rate. You can't play Toro, he stinks. You can't play Garcia, you can't play Maldonado. So it's hard to stack this team and like what you're getting, especially because with Taillon, even if he really stinks, the Yankees have a really good bullpen behind him. And they didn't use anybody yesterday, obviously, because Cole pitched a complete game. So everybody's available. I think they need to win every game. You mentioned that they're way behind the other 2 teams in the AL East. So yeah, I don't think I like Houston outside those lefties that swing for power, the Alvarez, the Tuckers, the Brantleys. And as far as playing Taillon, I don't think I would go there either, just because Houston doesn't strike out enough, and he's not really a strikeout guy with a 25% strikeout rate.
All righty. Well, we kind of hit on the weather here, but this is we'll do weather, and we'll talk about some really good spots to take some offensive players. You've got Baltimore. Humidity is up in the DC area. I am equidistant from DC as Baltimore is, and it is incredibly humid here today. The sun is back out. There's a ton of humidity in the area. It's in the 90s already here, 87 actually where I am, and it's just 12:30, so it's going to be a warm one there in Baltimore. New York, similar to Baltimore, a lot of humidity there as the remnants of some various storms are wrapping up. We did get Cleveland postponed prior to our show starting, and then we just lost the Chicago St. Louis game, so make sure you're not playing Adam Wainwright, but that makes things a little bit easier for us. However, it also is going to consolidate a lot of players onto the Chicago White Sox. So let's see, here are the notes. I've got 90-degree temperatures, as I mentioned, 10 to 12 miles an hour breeze headed out towards left field. Rookie Spencer Watkins taking the mound for Baltimore. A Coors-esque 6.2 implied run total for the White Sox. This will be Watkins' second start and third appearance in the majors. He has faced 23 big leaguers, and while he is not allowed a home run, he has just 2 strikeouts.
Not good.
Yikes. I see some of my notes we're taking here. What do you think about?
Can we talk about his name? Spencer with an S. Like, I hate this guy just because of his name already. Spencer. Yeah, no, I hate him. I stacked against him with Toronto last start, and he was awful with an xFIP of like 6.
I wanted to add this because the editors took my note out. I look all this stuff up for you guys. I put it in my article, and then it constantly gets pulled because we want things to be efficient. You know what's efficient? The reader not having to go look this stuff up on Baseball Reference and FanGraphs and StatCast. I'm just saying that to any of the editors that are listening. It takes a while to look this up. I want to point out that Spencer Watkins, 28 years old. He will be 29 next month, and this will be his 4th major league appearance. He was a 30th round draft pick in the 2014 draft. He's the Crash Davis of pitching. He really wouldn't be up there, except that basically this is the end of his career. Marginal strikeout stuff, but again, he has been in the minors for 7 years after 3 years of college. Take the White Sox.
Dude, that was not a cool reference because
which one?
Crash
How many
Davis
years were you in
was
college?
awesome.
I'm just saying he's perseverance. Hat tip to him. He's the eternal Peter Pan. Okay. I am jealous, but I'm just saying we're just about out of red carpet here. The real world is waiting.
Yeah, no, seriously. I don't know, like they're going to be like 40% owned. That's my only problem. Like, at what point do you just fade a team just because they're so highly owned and it's baseball and weird stuff happens all the time? I don't know. Like, play White Sox in cash for sure. In GPPs, we have them projected as a top stack 20% of the time. So 1 out of every 5, they're going to be the top stack. But then we have Boston projected just as highly, but their leverage score is 8 for Boston and -1 for the White Sox. And for me, like, I'll just play Boston and save it pitching, just because I want to be different in GPPs. But yeah, I mean, the White Sox are a great stack, and everybody already knows that, which is why they're going to be the most popular one.
Absolutely. I just wanted to besmirch the good name of the Crash Davis of pitching.
I mean,
apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies. Maybe it's because I'm jealous that I did not get to be a baseball player for the first half of my life. All right. What else do we want to talk about? The Twins going against Willie Peralta. I feel like that's a potential
Peralta's
spot
been
there.
Really good.
Okay, let's fight about this then. How old do you think Willie Peralta is?
I'm gonna tell you right now. 32 years, 2 months.
You're not supposed to look.
Days.
He's 32. But doesn't it feel like he's like closer to 40? I mean, or at least like 36. Now he's 9 years. Why is this 9 years for him? Because he didn't play last year. Why? Because he was so bad in 2019 with Kansas City. 42 relief appearances, and he was basically garbage. Yeah, he's got a 2 ERA right now. However, his Sierra closer to 4, and most projection models have him closer to a 5 ERA. Plus, wait for it, that's about where his career ERA is. Now that I've said bad things about yet another pitcher, what are you going to say about him that's good?
Last 2 starts, an xFIP of 248 and 247. Swinging strikes 16% and 11%. I don't know what
Because
he's
he ate
doing
his
differently.
spinach. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
27% hard hit last start. I don't know. Like, I don't think he's that bad. He has a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
18 base runners.
Not a
18
lot.
base runners in 21 innings. That's lucky. 6 strikeouts per 9.
Let me look at his projected stuff.
I'm just saying.
Honestly, like Minnesota has been my favorite stack for so long now, because all of their hitters are good. Like the 2 rookies, Larnack and Kirillov are really good. And then Donaldson is like having a crazy resurgent year. And then you have Cruz there. So like they make a perfect stack, as well as Kepler coming back to the DH.
And they're missing Buxton.
Yeah.
And they're
their
missing
lineup is amazing.
Mitch Garver.
They have no pitching, like 0 pitching. Barrios is fine, but he's not a number 1 starter. And Maeda is not very consistent either. So that's their problem. Yeah, I like Peralta, X slugging of 386. That's really good. Launch angle of only 5.8, so a bunch of ground balls. Yeah, I mean, I won't play him just because Twins are so good and really don't strike out at all. They have 2 guys that strike out a lot, Larnack and Jeffers in this lineup, and nobody else really strikes out over 20%. So it's not a great spot for Peralta. It also makes me a little bit soured on Minnesota just because they're going to be 15% owned. They're the 2nd highest owned stack today. I think I'm going to go under on them and just hope that Peralta can be smoke and mirrors one more time. But I get it. I think they're all really good hitters, and the stack makes a lot of sense.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about PrizePicks here. I meant to bring this up for the Chicago hitters. You have Moncada was in the lineup, right? Yep, he's been dealing with a hand injury, so he is in the lineup. So you've got Moncada and Abreu. They both had an 8 fantasy point projection on PrizePicks. So you get to choose over or under. Awesemo has them for 13 and 14 fantasy points. What is PrizePicks fantasy scoring? It's the same as FanDuel. So all you got to do is look at our FanDuel projections, and you can figure out if you want to go over or under on the PrizePicks ones. I'm sad I can't bring up Whit Merrifield, although I was banging the drum for Whit Merrifield. He was 15 of 18 exceeding his fantasy targets, and then he went 1 for his last 7. So fortunately, I didn't do any shows for a week, so I didn't get caught in that wee little slump, that gully, if you will. But the other guy that I'm transitioning you to talk about, the Phillies going against Nick Pivetta, is going to be Bryce Harper, who has an 8 fantasy point projection. Awesemo has him for 13.7. For those of you that like BVP, he is 3 for 9 against Pivetta. He only gets extra base hits, 2 home runs and a double. He does have 5 strikeouts in that stretch. How you feeling about the lefties for the Phillies going against Nick Pivetta?
Pivetta's been better, and can we just say it? Revenge for Pivetta.
Just like reverse revenge? I forget.
No, he came from Philly.
Yeah, but aren't they going to say you abandoned us and they're going to kick his ass, right? We don't talk about that enough either.
I guess. Bryce Harper is really good. I think we buried the lead. X slugging of 594 and 45% hard hits. Yeah, he's very, very good at baseball. This whole Philly lineup is actually pretty decent. With exception of Gene Segura, who just like is going to continue destroying me in DFS when I don't play him as part of the stack because his stats.
Was it yesterday that he was like 30% owned and had like
he's been 30% owned for a week?
Some ungodly like 28 DK points or something like that.
Yeah,
yesterday
I mean, like just like ground ball triples. I don't know. Whatever.
He is going to get an inside the park home run, an ITP.
I will continue fading him. So bad for me, probably. But yeah, I think what is going on with this? Like, Nola was supposed to start, right? So now Knitzer is opening, but is Nola going to play?
No, I believe he was contact and it's in the COVID-19
Okay.
protocol.
So yeah.
Or close contact.
That's why the Red Sox stack is going to be really, really good. So yeah, no Nola, stack the Red Sox. You can stack Phillies as well. This is Fenway in the summer where it's 80 degrees and 65% humidity. Like, I don't know what the stats are, but it feels like every single game goes over in the summer at Fenway, unless like really good pitchers are facing off. And that's not the case here today. Pavetta's been much better than expected, much better than he was in Philly. He's always like showed flashes of being good just because his stuff is really good, but could never really put it together in Philadelphia. Having a decent year for the Red Sox here, but Philadelphia lineup is really good. I'm not gonna like fade them just because Pavetta had 10 strikeouts or whatever last start. His xFIP numbers 5, 4, 5. So like, yeah, he could definitely get smacked around, but the Red Sox are definitely the best stack of the day without Nola for the Phillies in this tiny park, and they have their A lineup going today.
All right. What else do we have in front of us? We hit the Astros. We talked about Bryce. We talked about the rain. We talked about the warm weather.
We talked about HOA fees.
HOA fees. We life lessons, how to use a microwave, variety of things.
I think that we have done a great job covering everything.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Good luck, gamers. Talk to you later.
we got to talk. We got to talk about.
Just seeing if Tom is watching this morning. I'm waiting for him to send me a note right about now.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, what other stacks do you like? Our top value stack of the day is actually Baltimore, which I don't really. Facing Cease doesn't really give up a lot of power. Sure, the park is great. But I don't think that's a spot I would get into too much as far as Baltimore. They're projected to be the top stack 4% of the time, but because they're so cheap, their value percentage is 23% in our team. Like, are you going to make any Orioles stacks?
Yes,
Okay.
I am. So I want to point out someone asking why is the Mets projecting so well. They're actually not playing a doubleheader today. They did play a doubleheader yesterday, and they have played more doubleheaders than anybody in the history of modern Major League Baseball, when they did not just have regularly scheduled doubleheaders, when everybody was taking the train to play their opponents. But they have had, I was listening to the telecast last night. I want to say they've had 12 doubleheaders.
Wow.
If not 13. It's a big number. But remember, they missed first part of the season because there was a COVID outbreak.
Yeah, everybody
with them, or I think they were supposed to play the Nationals, who had one as well, and then they had some weather issues and all of that. So they've been trying to desperately make up games, but they're actually playing for the first time in seemingly forever a 9-inning game, slated to watch weather curtail this one just because.
Yeah, the weather here is like really humid. They're playing in New York right now.
Correct.
And Chase DeJong is really bad, or DeJong, whatever his last name is. Like this Mets lineup is supposed to be really good, right? Like Nemo, Lindor, Smith, Alonso, McNeil, Conforto are all good names, but for some reason they just never win GPPs. Like, I want to see the stat of when was the last time the Mets went off enough to win a large field GPP.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they didn't have their players healthy for so
That's
long.
true.
I mean, they were missing McNeil and Conforto and Nemo. And,
this is their A team for sure.
Yeah.
We have them projected for.
I see Terry put in that exact thing in chat. I just come back to the chat. He's like, "Hey, McNeil, Conforto, Nemo."
Yes, I mean,
I see what you're doing there, Team McBee. I see what you're doing.
Alonso's so good. Wow. I didn't realize how good he's been this year. He's only striking out 20%, which is 10% less than last year. And his slugging is up to 546, and his hard hit is 47%. Guy is really good at baseball. I don't like, he had like that sophomore slump last year in the shortened season. Yeah, I like the Mets stack. There's my answer. Stack the Mets. They're low owned too. Like, we have them projected for 8% chance of being the top stack and only 7% ownership. So you're going to get a positive leverage score. Yeah, I like the Mets here. I kind of missed it. So I'm glad the show's pointing them out.
You know what's not fun? going in and entering all of your pitcher percentages in Fantasy Cruncher and then realizing that you put it all in the randomness column.
That's not great.
No, but it's easily fixed because Fantasy Cruncher, very nice tool. Thank you, Fantasy Cruncher. All right. Let's see. Fire up some questions. We're actually going to have some time for
guys, like, because 2 games got canceled. We'd be perfect if those 2 games played.
Oh,
but yeah, we have plenty of time to.
I got a question right in your wheelhouse here. So from Ron Reese. And Ron, no, this is we're answering this in a helpful manner so you understand, because this is a great question.
Yeah.
And it needs some perspective here. So this is not picking on you. This is a good question. And this is why we're here to answer it. So he says, why are you talking about season-long expected stats when it has no bearing on what's happening today? Stop misleading people. Okay, well, you had me until stop misleading people. This is not misleading people. We're trying to take season-long things and trying to figure out what the hell has happened exactly today, which is incredibly difficult to do. We have nothing else to go on. Looking at historical stats can be a little tough. There's more of a time frame in there. There's a lot more variables that aren't accounted for. What you are seeing in expected stats is they're trying to normalize away some of these variables. So you can kind of see under similar conditions for everybody, what would the expected outcome be?
Yeah, that's like a confusing question to me, because that is exactly why we're looking at expected stats.
Yes.
Because those are the ones that predict what's going to happen in the future.
And they are confusing until you wrap your head around it, right? So that kind of explain that. So we're trying to tell
the stuff that's already actually happened, which is your real stats, have a lot of noise in them, right? Park factors, the pitchers that are faced, BABIP, right? BABIP is a huge one. Batting average and balls in play.
Don't forget weather.
Yeah, weather. Like, there's just a ton of noise in the things that actually happen. So what the expected stats do is they kind of get all that noise out and give us the real answer as to, like, the guy is hitting at this launch angle and at this exit velocity. What would the ball do if that happened a million times, right? So that is how we figure out what players are actually good and what players are actually bad, because people can run really good for long periods of time. Variance is so big in baseball. Like, a guy can hit the ball just as hard as another guy in a different, and it goes a couple feet less and it's a fly out instead of a home run. So is the guy that didn't hit a home run a worse player? No. And that's what the expected stats tell.
Yes. Now Ron says, sorry for a poorly worded question. No. Good question.
Totally fine.
This is what we want to help you all with, right? We've done this, seen this, been around the block a million times. We're helping you avoid the bear traps we've stepped in more than once. It's like walking through a yard with a field full of rakes in front of you. We've been smacking ourselves in the head plenty of times. We don't want you to have to do that. So that's why we're here. This is a safe spot. And besides, the people that ask the dumb questions, they didn't show up today. This is the good YouTube channel.
Like,
the other people aren't here. So hit the like button for good YouTube channel.
We're very lucky to have these stats in this day and age, right? So without StatCast, you didn't have these expected stats. So people all they could look at was the stuff that happened historically and try to predict the future, which is a lot harder to do without, proper measurements on velocity, proper measurements on spin rate for pitchers. All this stuff is really helping us predict the future much better. And that's why the teams like Tampa, like Houston, that got onto this stuff first have been so successful.
Absolutely. What do you do in your day job?
I don't have a day job anymore.
It feels like you're a science teacher the way you're talking about all this.
I used to do finance.
There we go. Okay.
But I left my day job 3 years ago. So now I'm a full-time dad and DFS player.
There you go. Living the dream is what they call it.
Yeah.
GPPs and poopy diapers. Who says no?
The kids are maniacs and make my life a lot more difficult than I expected. I like to try to live vicariously through, like, Adam Shearer, Ship My Money, who does not have children and is also doing this full time and is single. So he's like traveling, and I'm like, trying to live through somebody who's 6 years older or whatever he is.
All right. So Mike says, I hope EMac does DF shows until he turns 80, or DFS shows until he turns 80. I promise I'll keep watching. EMac is DFS gold. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Just bringing a different perspective. We have so many talented people here at Awesemo that are doing the analysis. I love having the opportunity. I mean, I can chip in with the analysis at any time, but I like, being a host, keeping everything on track, making sure that we keep the lights on, throwing out those plugs and having the good stuff and being able to wrangle YouTube chat just around there. And Jordan, I'm not quite 80 yet. That's next year's milestone birthday. Thank you. Don't think
EMac, I got a good idea. Let's do some props.
Let's do some props. Absolutely. So we have an excellent. I'm going to drop this in the. It's like you knew that we were going to do this. So we have the MLB player props tool. So this is free. This is free for you guys. I'm putting this into the YouTube chat. So regardless of whether you have DFS or sports wagering legal in your state, this is still very helpful for DFS picks, especially if you're like looking for tiebreakers. The items I like to always use are what is the pitcher's strikeout prop. And I also like to look at the 5-inning run line because a lot of times your pitcher, and especially in this day and age, that's about where all the farther they're going to go, unless they're one of the literally handful of players, like the Walker Buehlers, Garrett Coles, et cetera, that are going to go. Max Scherzer's go beyond that. So there's not that many of them, but those can help get rid of some of that noise we're talking about. Because if you see, oh my God, there's a 6 implied run total. Okay, well, but what if that's because the bullpen is horrible and the pitcher's only going to go 4 or 5 runs and it's an okay pitcher? You can sometimes see imbalanced 5-inning line runs there, and you can say, oh, that's not as bad as I thought. Or, oh my God, look at how low this total is. It's only a 7-inning game. That's not going to impact your pitcher. Go look at the 5-inning run line and see what's happening there. And that's a nice basis for things. But what do you have popping up here that you want to talk about? Because we have the overs and unders. There's a column that's expected win percentage. And then there's an ROI because we figure out the math for you of what you're paying on the over or under because you use Odds Shopper to go find the best odds or the price on the different sites. Because if if you can get 120 instead of 127, you're saving 7 on your bet, or 7 points, and that is just pure profit for you. Or it goes again, it hits your bottom line directly. It doesn't mean it's profit. It just means that that's an unnecessary expense if you take it. So what do you got here for us?
I like Pablo Lopez.
You, and I'm gonna run my crunches here real quick.
I like Pablo Lopez, over 6.5 strikeouts at 115. We have that. So you're getting a little bit of juice going your way, which is nice. And I think it's a really good lineup that he's facing for strikeouts today, without Acuna in it. So like Pablo Lopez is probably a really good bet for me. I hate these under strikeout bets because it's such a strikeout heavy league this year. But Valdez under 5.5 against the Yankees does make a little bit of sense. Ground ball pitcher. The Yankees don't really strike out much, have a ton of power. Bassett at over 5.5 is minus 154, but that's a bet that's going to win a ton of time just because we have it at 67% expected win, which is a lot. So your ROI is 11% on that because you're getting 154 odds. And this Texas lineup strikes out a ton, and Bassett has decent strikeout stuff. So I like those guys. For home runs, we'll see here. Stanton at 430. That feels high. Yeah, likes a bunch of Yankees. Boyd and Stanton, 430 and 560 there. What do you see, EMac?
Yeah,
Are you still running your crunches?
I'm running the crunches, but those. So I like to sort it and just say, what is the expected win? Now, someone we didn't talk about was Framber Valdez. Now we've got the under 5.5 strikeouts. That's going against the Yankees. Looking at their lineup, to me, that's like an appropriate price. So this is where there's not value in every bet that's going to be here. And frankly, that has an expected win rate of 59%. You're getting a very almost neutral price. So your ROI is going to be higher than what it is on a lot of the places where they're like, oh yeah, we're all pretty sure this is going to happen. and we're going to make you pay for that opportunity that we're pretty sure it's going to happen. And you see that a lot of times in baseball, because they have to do things in half increments, and it's an event-based sport. So it's not like basketball, where you can get a little more wiggle room in points or points, rebounds, and assists type bets. And certainly in football, where you can find, 17-yard differences, even sometimes among receivers, and for sure among the different sites with regards to quarterback passing yardage total. So here in baseball, it's a little closer together on this one. But I do like, you mentioned the Bassett. I like the Bassett over 5.5 strikeouts.
It feels like a really safe bet.
Yeah, the Robbie Ray. So we're saying, and this is like the perfect stay away for Robbie Ray. The 7.5, we're saying the under is going to happen 49%.
Yeah, that's a lot. 7.5 is a lot.
That's a lot of strikeouts. There's a lot of way things can go incorrectly, but that should make me say, hey, that's one of the highest strikeouts on the board. Him and Woodruff are both 7.5. Shouldn't those be the pitchers I'm looking at for my?
Exactly.
And now we have that built into the fantasy points, but it's just another data point to make you feel a little more comfortable, or just have a different way of framing or understanding the stuff. Ian Henderson, 5.5 strikeouts. The over has a 61% chance of happening, but here's a bad number. It's a minus 157. So Vegas thinks it's going to happen. That's a negative ROI for you. Even if you're running such a risk there, it's likely going to happen, but you're paying so much for it that the times it doesn't happen, the few times it doesn't happen would break you even for all the times it is going to happen correctly. And that's the math part of this that's sometimes hard to wrap your head around. But we do all the heavy lifting for you right here. I mean, if you're trying to look at that and figure out like, oh, I'll just click, I got more balance in this one, I'm going to choose this one. It's only 7 higher than the other one. It's like, no. We've got this figured out for you here. Come look at Odds Shopper. Come look at the free Awesemo odds page. So
it's just a great tool. The over for Nick Pivetta, over 5.5, is expected to win 55% of the time. Does that seem high? Especially like, how long is he going to last in this game?
It's all going to come down to that, because Gregorius strikes out a ton, Harper strikes out a ton. I mean, even the guys that we like, they're either going to connect or they're going to whiff. And if they whiff before they connect, he lasts longer in the game. This is like saying, hey, the team that scores the most points is going to win.
Yeah.
So you're really only thinking about 2 Houston Astros? Any props there for Tucker that you like? Or Jordan?
I don't know. Like,
how do you feel about the home run props?
I hate them just because I feel like they are fish bets. I don't want to make it sound mean, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, Greg says the same thing. I have never really weighed in on them. I usually just kind of reference them to look at them. I only occasionally bet them, and usually if it's an odds boost involved. So because otherwise, I agree. It's sort of like
I always write them up in my betting article because they're fun. Because home runs, chicks dig the long ball. So home runs are great, but it's not something you're gonna sustainably win at while betting. Just say it that way. It's not a good way of making money consistently.
Who is your top pitcher if you are building one lineup? Would it be Woodruff?
Is it a GPP lineup or a cash lineup? That's the question.
They just say one. So let's call it the air quote main lineup. Single entry / cash. And frankly, in baseball, it's that I think answer is the same. When you get into mass multi-entry, now you're going for the cheap pitchers. Now you're trying to chase strikeouts. Now you're trying to create a basket risk. But with just one today, I would think Bassett, Woodruff, and you're going to say Robbie Ray. You want to say Robbie Ray. If it was tournaments, you'd say for sure Robbie Ray.
The more I look at it, Bassett is probably my favorite pitcher of the day because you get a discount, and I think his strikeout upside is just as good as the other guys because he gets to face Texas without Gallo. So I love the spot for Bassett. He's probably my favorite pitcher of the night. I think if I'm building a cash team, I'm going to play Woodruff just because I think you can get different elsewhere. But if I'm playing a single entry team, I think he's going to be really, really highly owned. So if I'm playing a DK single entry team, for me today, it's going to be Berrios and Bassett that I'm going to play the 2 pitchers. Because you get a discount, you can get better bats, and I feel like they just have just as much upside as Ray and Woodruff. And our top 2 pitcher percentage kind of tells you that, right? Like Woodruff is 25%, then Ray at 22, but Berrios is 19, but he's $2K cheaper than Woodruff. So you're getting a like 5% less chance of it happening, but $2,000 is a lot of money to save.
$2,000. That's nice. Can I get that in cash first?
Sure. You want it in cash? EMac, the world is your oyster. I can do
small bills, non-sequential denominations. That joke just doesn't even play anymore now that we have cryptocurrency.
Nobody has cash. Yeah, what are you talking about? Actually, I went to the farmer's market yesterday and all they took was cash. And I was like, I don't have any cash.
It's like when you go to the ball game and the little credit card machines are down.
Like what? Who
it was like, cash? I don't have money.
Like, can I Venmo you? Like, I don't know, EMac. The world's weird.
Here's one from Josh Nork. He says, is a 3-3 stack with a one-off such as Dom Smith, so he's going for a little power, a good way to go on FanDuel? Both sets of socks seem
so on FanDuel, I think stacking full stacks is much more important just because the way their scoring works. So I think there, in GPPs, I always try to make 4-4 stacks. Sure, like you can get different, it can work out, but the optimal way to go is to stack full stacks on FanDuel especially.
All right, and sort of. So let's explain real quick why that's the case. Because they only have one pitcher, they have slightly different scoring, so you can't balance it out with extra strikeouts from your secondary pitcher. Additionally, the way they have their scoring is it's not quite as weighted to home runs. You get a little boost there for just regular hits, RBI, and walks, which makes the synergy that much more important over there on FanDuel. Plus, with that flexible spot, you can do a lot, or the utility spot, you can do a lot, and not having to play the catcher to really get them in their weak price, or pardon me, their less than daunting pricing on their hitters. You can tend to kind of do what you want a little more. Terry is in the chat. I'm sure he will answer that one in more detail. Occasionally, he will say a 4-3 is the way to go, but on a full slate, a 3-3 perhaps not the way to go. On the short slates, I have zero problem with that. It's me. I have no problem playing hitters against my pitchers, but that's more of a DK thing because 2-game, 3-game slate. I got to play two of the pitchers. At some point, I'm taking a hitter against one of my pitchers, if not two.
Yeah, really short slates are obviously a different story, but on a slate like today, I think 4-4 is optimal.
All right. We have 3 minutes to go. I'm going to download. Oh, we have 2 minutes to go. I'm going to download my files and upload my lineups.
Want to do some home run calls?
Why, yes. Yes, I do. Bryce Harper.
Oh.
Bryce Harper is my Ohtani call of the day.
Bryce Harper hits the pesky pole. How about that?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Well, I like how Etan did one. He picked Brad Miller, and Brad Miller got 3 home runs.
And his first 3 at bats, didn't he have a chance for 4-4?
He did, and that was
insane.
Yeah, it's like, really, come on.
Now you're just showing off.
Yeah, come on, come on, Etan. Geez, make the rest of us look bad. Come on, team player here. Be a team player. My number 2 guy is Yohan Moncada, even with that sore wrist.
Okay, I am gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go Devers, and I'm gonna go with Luke Voigt, one of my Yankees.
Ooh, against Framber, huh?
Against Valdez. Well, actually, I'm not calling it against Valdez. He will hit a home run today. Could be against the bullpen. But yeah, he's going to hit it in those Crawford boxes. There you go.
Ooh, the Crawford boxes. Always nice. Always nice. 2 minutes to go. So I do want to remind you, and T. McBee, for those of you listening, he is answering that question in chat if you want to go back and see the full FanDuel discussion there. And also, we have that discussion a lot in the Awesemo Premium Slack. And you can sign up for 25% off your 1 week Awesemo Premium package by using the promo code MLB Live Before Lock. That is all one word, MLB Live Before Lock. Gets you 25% off a 1 week Awesemo subscription. At 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to talk a little basketball. It is going to be the aforementioned Etan talking with Greg, Nerdass Greg, as they break down Game 3. Venue change here. We are no longer in the desert. We are now in Milwaukee. Milwaukee goes from being 5.5-point underdogs in the last game to 4-point favorites. What happened? Did Giannis? He had 72 hours. Did he get to Germany and back for a little of that special knee treatment?
I don't know, but the Suns are winning the series, so it doesn't really matter.
I did follow one Greg Ehrenberg when he was mentioning that this was, I think I put this bet in before the playoffs, or it might have been right during the play-in games. I have the Suns to win it all at 17-1.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I don't have that. I've just started sports betting, so I am
Did
not
you put $20,000 on it?
Oh, I wish I would have done my risk-free 2021 bet, but no, I didn't, and I'm sure they wouldn't have let me use it on that. But no, I just have a few bucks on it. But all of a sudden, I'm wishing it's like, what? Wow, I wish I would have put like 100 or 200 on this. That'd be like real money, right? But I'm just getting my feet wet. But the point is, we just got sports wagering here in Virginia, and that is something that I do not know a lot about. I understand the theories and all of that, but putting it into practice and the live game betting, and you can cash out on these bets early and futures bets and all this, it can be rather confusing. We have a tremendous number of resources here at Awesemo that talk us through all of the different ways to do this. Had some nice MMA bets last night. First time I bet on MMA.
MMA was so brutal for me. Like,
what about the girl that got the cut on her forehead? That looked
the third eye, Jessica Third Eye. Somebody called her on Twitter.
Yeah,
I laughed for a little bit. It was bad. Yeah, it was.
You could see her skull.
Yeah. But like, I mean, the guy got his ankle broken. Like, that's just MMA. I was talking to Adam, and I think every single pay-per-view slate this year has had a break of some sort. A guy's arm got broken, a couple legs got broken, and now an ankle gets broken. I'm like,
the guy's spirit got broken by that flying knee to the face. That was.
Did you see a guy trying to do a backflip on a guy's head? That was amazing, dude. MMA is just the coolest sport. I don't know how I didn't watch it until the pandemic hit. I've been missing out all this time.
I'm only can manage to watch about one or two fights. I just don't like seeing people beat each other up. I guess now that I'm old, I like hockey fights. To me, are just
cringy.
brutal.
But it's like a train wreck, right? Like when you drive by a car wreck, like you have to look, and that's the same way for me with MMA. Like I'm like, I have to see this guy's arm dangling off his body. I just do.
Yeah, the bloodlust doesn't last very long for me, and I'm like, that's gross. Oh my god, he may never walk again.
Yeah, no,
we can't have that. We can't have that. You know what we can have? You can also do MMA in your PrizePicks over there. Again, pick 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props over there on PrizePicks. You can do cross sports wagering. The more questions you put into your parlay card, the higher the payout. Choose 5, get all 5 right, get 10x your paying. It's a fun way. It's really a fun way to leverage. And you can also gain some synergy with how they have some of their basketball stuff set up as well. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. Use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up. Put in $100. They will match you $100. They'll match you up to 100. So if you put in 50, they'll put in 50 right next to you. You put in 20, they'll put in 20. But that's a one-time promo code. So if you're going to do it, definitely want to take advantage of that. And then that funding comes out first when you're making your PrizePick wagers. Final thoughts before we get on out of here, Max?
Somebody in chat is winning a GPP today, so I hope it's you, EMac.
All right. Well, I hope it's me as well, because I'm selfish like that. So with that, gamers, you can follow Max on Twitter at DFS Max. I am at EMac DFS, and of course, it is Awesemo _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.
Later.